walioshiriki katika mapigano.
Uchaguzi mdogo katika baadhi ya maeneo yenye ushindani mkubwa kama Malava, Mbeere North na Narok mjini ulianza kwa fujo.
Na Brenda Wanga na taarifa hiyo.
Hata kabla ya vituo vya kupigia kura kufunguliwa, taharuki ambayo imekuwa ikitanda katika uchaguzi wa Malava ulio na ushindani mkali ilifikia kilele kwa vurugu. Magari ya mmoja wa wagombea yaliharibiwa katika hoteli moja ya eneo hilo. Vurugu hiyo iliongezeka asubuhi na gari jingine lilichomwa moto wakati usalama ulipokuwa umeimarishwa wakati wa kupiga kura. Gari aina ya Toyota Prado ambalo linadaiwa kuwa ni mali ya kinara wa DAP Kenya Eugene Wamalwa iliteketezwa na watu wasiojulikana ambao inasemekana walikuwa katika msafara wa mbunge wa Lugari eneo la Manyonji huko Butali, Malava.
Na mambo yenye tumefanyia leo hata si hatujafurahia hata kidogo. Wenzetu tulikuwa tunatoka nyumbani kuja kupiga kura, tukidhani ni kura ya amani, kumbe ilikuwa kura ya vita.
Kwa mujibu wa mashahidi, makundi haya mawili yalikutana kando ya barabara ya kiwanda cha Butali wakati kundi lenye silaha butu liliwavamia na kuliteketeza gari hilo.
Magari more than 10 na wamekuja na mampini na bunduki. Mipini, mabunduki. Sasa katika harakati na Eugene Wamalwa walikuwa wamesimama kwa barabara. Hao walisuka tu na kuanza kupiga watu nini na
hali ya taharuki inazidi kuongezeka huku maafisa wa GSU wakionekana kuwazuia wapiga kura kuingia kwenye maeneo ya upinzani. Na katika eneo bunge la Mbeere North, hali ya wasiwasi imetanda huku mwanasheria mkuu wa zamani Justin Muturi na mwakilishi wodi wa Chinga Kiruga Thuku wakikabiliana. Wawili hao walikaribia kupigana kwenye kituo cha kupigia kura cha ukumbi wa kijamii wa Siakago kuhusu madai ya kuwahonga wapiga kura. Na huko Kasipul, mbunge wa Homa Bay Peter Kaluma na mlinzi wake walishambuliwa katika shule ya msingi ya Gorosare. Bunduki ya mlinzi wake sasa haijulikani ilipo. Kwenginepo, mbunge wa Kilifi Kusini Ken Chonga alifukuzwa na wafuasi wa DCP wenye hasira katika kituo cha kupigia kura cha Kanangoni, eneo bunge la Magarini, tuhuma kwamba alikuwa na wahonga wapiga kura.
Hiyo serikali yote kwamba wananchi wameamua, raundi hamtapanga watu, hamtauzia jamii woga, hatutaki uongozi mbaya. No one can compromise with this election. Wananchi wameamua.
Kila wanachopanga tunakijua, tunatubua. Leo tumemtubua ameenda Kanagoni na huko pia atatibuliwa. Tumejipanga na hatutaki kupumbavu.
Brenda Wanga, runinga ya Citizen.
Na mtazamaji, ni ruhusu hivi sasa nimpe nafasi ndugu yetu Francis Mtalaki ambaye amekuepo Kilifi na yuko sasa hivi katika eneo bunge la Magarini ili kueleza shughuli ile imeanzaje kutoka asubuhi na hadi kufikia sasa. Kama kuna kitu ambacho sio cha kawaida, pia Francis Mtalaki una fursa ya kulieleza taifa, na kama mambo yote yako sawa, taifa pia linapaswa kujua kupitia runinga hii ya Citizen.
Rashid, kufikia sasa kila kitu kishwari, na mapema hii leo tumekuwa tukizunguka katika vituo mbalimbali vya kupigia kura hasa katika eneo hili la Magarini, kaunti ya Kilifi, na kufikia sasa idadi ni ndogo ukiweza kulinganisha hapo awali ambapo kulikuwa na baadhi ya wakazi mapema hii leo waliamka na kuweza kupiga kura, na pia baadhi ya viongozi wakiweza kuzunguka na kuhakikisha kwamba kila kitu kishwari. Tume ya IEBC pia imeweza kushughulikia baadhi ya masuala ambayo yamekuwa kiibuka, hasa baadhi ya wagombea kusema kwamba baadhi ya maajenti ambao walikuwa wameachwa nje, swala hilo kulingana na IEBC wamekwisha lishughulikia. Lakini tuko naye naibu kinara wa chama cha ODM ambaye alikuwa anatoa taarifa muda mchache uliofika. Labda kufikia sasa hali ikoje? Umeridhishwa na shughuli nzima?
Asubuhi walipoanza katika vituo 193, vituo 7 vilichelewa kufunguliwa, so we need to be able to see effect yake itakuwa ni vipi. Pili, nasikitishwa na wenzetu, kuna maagents wao fulani ambao kwamba wameshikwa, na nikisema wenzetu wengine wa kile chama cha masikio ya umma, agent wao walishikwa. In fact, I think I saw a video going viral on that. Wamejaribu kuweka vijana kutishia viongozi, but I'm truly impressed with Ken Chonga. Amejicompose na hakutaka kuwe na zahma yoyote ili kura ziweze kuendelea. I'm calling on my brothers and sisters, ndugu zangu kutoka kwa sehemu ya Malava, Kasipul, Mbere Ngunja, let's tuweze kuwa na utulivu katika kupiga kura. Demokrasia haipigi fujo kwa mdomo, demokrasia hupiga fujo kwa umakini.
Labda kwa zile lama ambazo umeweza kuzua katika eneo hili la Magarini, umeweza kuziwasilisha rasmi kwa tume ya IEBC?
No, bado we have been discussing frequently, yani tunazungumza na candidate mwenyewe, tunazungumza na leadership, local leadership here. Tunataka kuangalia what is the net effect ya hilo jambo kwanza kabla kuweza kufanya jambo lolote. But even wao wenyewe wanajua ya kwa vituo 7 vilifunguliwa kwa kuchelewa.
Na pia swala la usalama mmeridhishwa na ile mikakati?
So far sijaona incident yoyote ambayo kwamba ni ya ukosefu wa salama wa aina yoyote.
Ile kisa ambacho kilifanyika kule ambacho kilihusisha mbunge Ken Chonga, labda wasi wako ni upi hasa kwa vijana pamoja na viongozi ambao wanazunguka wakifuatilia swala hili?
Ken Chonga alionyesha uongozi wa hali ya juu, kwa sababu hakutaka kushindana, tungeharibu kura. Lakini sasa unajua vijana wakijaribu kufukuza kiongozi mtu mmoja, hasa shwali mtu mmoja, ikiwa watu wanatumwa vijana wote kuweza kujaribu kumbumburusha Ken. Hata nimeongea naye sasa hivi, tulikuwa tunacheka tu. Baada ya masaa tu tutakuja kukumbushana.
Idadi ya wapiga kura umeridhishwa?
Naam, tunaomba radhi kwa hilo, kwa tunaweza kuona Francis Mtalaki akizungumza.
Naam, kwa hivi sasa naarifiwa kwamba Rashid, tunaelekea eneo la Mbere North kwa Emmanuel To, manake baada ya vurugu kutokea mapema hii leo katika eneo bunge hilo, maafisa wa usalama waliweza kudhibiti hali na wapiga kura wakaendelea na kutimiza haki yao ya kikatiba.
Na Emmanuel To, kwa hivi sasa tufahamishe kaka, manake mapema uliweza kupata nafasi ya kuzungumza na wawakilishi wa pande zote mbili, kila mmoja akajitetea. Kuna baadhi analaumu, mwingine amesema kwamba tumerekebisha. Wanasema wao ni Wakristiano, kama umezasikia kauli hiyo, wako sawa. Sijui kufikia sasa hali ikoje, Emmanuel To?
Naam, asante sana Lulu na Rashid. Bila shaka kulikuwa na hali ya heka kidogo hapa asubuhi, lakini hali imekuwa shwari. Kumekuwa na utulivu kutoka wakati huo, na kwa sasa wapiga kura wanaendelea na shughuli yao ya kawaida hapa katika kituo cha Siakago Social Hall, ambapo tuliona kwamba mwaniaji wa kiti hicho cha ubunge katika chama cha UDA Leonard Wamudhende amepiga kura. Alipiga mwendo wa saa 6, saa 5, saa 6 hivi kabla kuondoka na kwenda sasa kuangalia vituo vingine namna ambavyo shughuli inaendelea. Na kwa sasa kama mwenzangu James anaweza kuonyesha tu hali ya kawaida tu, watu wamepungua. Nimezungumza na maafisa wa IEBC pale wakisema kwamba hadi sasa ni 43% ya wapiga kura ambao wamejitokeza kuweza kushughulika kwenye kura hii kabla ya kituo kufungwa mwendo wa saa 11. Kwa hivyo wana saa kama 5 hivi kabla ya kituo kufungwa, lakini IEBC ilisema kwamba ikiwa kutakuwa na yule ambaye atakuwa kwenye foleni wakati ambapo kura itakuwa inaendelea kupigwa, baada ya saa 11 ataruhusiwa kupiga kura. Kama kuna kituo kilichelewa kufunguliwa, kama ni dakika 30 zitaongezwa juu dakika 30 kuhakikisha kwamba muda ule ambao ulitengwa wa saa hizo zote unatimizwa. Kwa hivyo kuna mingi tu, wagombea wote wakuu haswa kwenye kinyang'anyiro hichi akiwemo Newton Karish ama Karioki wa chama cha Democratic Party ambaye anaungwa mkono na upande wa upinzani, pia alipiga kura yake mwendo wa saa 4. Tuliona pia mgombea kwa chama cha Kazi pia anaitwa Duncan Boy pia akipiga kura, na kumeshuhudiwa visa vya utovu wa usalama kutoka katika maeneo tofauti, lakini maafisa wa polisi wamekuwa ange kuhakikisha kwamba hali ya ushwari inarejeshwa, na tumeona pia maafisa ama makamishna wa tume ya uchaguzi na mipaka IEBC wakiandamana na maafisa hao wakienda kwenye vituo tofauti, vituo 134 ambapo kura zinatarajiwa kupigwa, kura 55,124. Kwa hivyo ni hayo tu kwa sasa. Lulu na Rashid, kwenu studioni.
Naam, shukran sana Emmanuel To, na kwa hivi sasa tunaelekea hadi Narok Town. Rashid, hapo awali ni kwamba taharuki iliweza kutanda mjini Narok hapo jana usiku, ambako mgombea kumradhi wa DCP Douglas Masikonde aliweza kuvamiwa nyumbani kwake alipokuwa kwenye mkutano na maajenti wake.
Naam, bila shaka wapiga kura waliraukia shughuli ya kumchagua mwakilishi wao mpya, huku watu wachache wakiendelea kutiririka vituo.
Naam, kwa hivi sasa tunaungana naye Ben Kirui ambaye yuko mjini Narok. Tueleze mengi zaidi kuhusiana na kile ambacho kiliweza kujiri kuanzia asubuhi hadi sasa. Kwako Ben Kirui.
Na asante Lulu na Rashid, vile tulivyoahidi awali kwamba tutatembelea vituo vyote vya kupigia kura katika eneo hili la Narok mjini, na awali ile taharuki ambayo ilishuhudiwa katika eneo ama ya kituo cha kupigia kura cha Masikonde kiliweza kutulia na hali ikaendelea kuwa shwari, na tumeweza tu kutembelea vituo vingine tofauti, takriban vituo 4, na bado tunazidi tu kutembelea hivyo vituo vingine ambavyo vimesalia, manake hapa vituo ni vingi. Na kwa sasa hivi tuko katika kituo cha kupigia kura cha Olol Toto, ambapo wapiga kura wamejitokeza japo kwa idadi ndogo hapa, ama hiki ni kituo ambacho kina wapiga kura 781, lakini idadi hiyo jinsi ambavyo tumefahamishwa na pia jinsi ambavyo sisi wenyewe tumeshuhudia ni kwamba idadi imekuwa ni ndogo mno. Na pia Rashid na Lulu, tuliweza kuzungumza na wale wawaniaji kadhaa wa kiti hiki cha udiwani, na sasa ni zamu yake Joshua Kaputa ambaye anaonea katika tiketi ya chama cha Jubilee. Pia tuweze kushuhudia yenyewe imekuaje.
Kwanza nashukuru kwa sababu watu wa Narok Town Ward wameweza kutokea, hata kama hawajatokea kwa wingi kwa sababu ya ile mshtuko walipata siku ya jana, kwa sababu ya polisi walitumwa, wamejaa town, watu wanastuliwa. Na juzi mimi mwenyewe nilipigwa hii mkono na watu wa UDA ambaye ni goons wa UDA, kwa sababu mimi nikiwa katika chama cha Jubilee I've always said cha muhimu ni amani, na kila ambaye imetustua hapa ni kwamba demokrasia watu wanajaribu kuifinyilia chini, lakini kwa yote tutaona kila ambaye kitatokea, manake kuna complaints ambazo tuko nazo. Watu wameweza kutumia fedha kwenda kudanganya watu, wanakuja wanalipa watu kwa malaini. Pia kumekuwa na magari aina ya Probox ambayo imekuwa ikilete watu fulani, wanakuja wanalipa pesa, na mambo kama hayo ndio tunasema ya kwamba Kenya haitakuwa na demokrasia kama watu hawatapewa nafasi. Lakini kwa mimi naamini ya kwamba Mungu atanipa ushindi siku ya leo, kwa sababu hata wanapojaribu kufanya juu chini kuhakikisha ya kwamba wananunua watu, naamini ya kwamba watu watakula hiyo pesa, lakini watachagua yule mtu ambaye wanataka.
Bila shaka ni madai ambayo yanachunguzwa na maafisa wa polisi, kwa hivyo tutatarajia kujua uchunguzi utakuwa umefikia wapi. Lakini kwa jumla shughuli yenyewe kwa hasa katika kituo hiki, ile idadi ya wapiga kura ambao wamejitokeza,
watu ni wachache sana wenye wametokea, na kumekuwa pia na mambo ya watu wanatokea, lakini ni wachache sana compared to last time, because last time tulikuwa na over 700 voters, na wakati huu tumekuwa na nafikiri watu kama 300 kama tumeenda sana. Na hiyo ni kitu ambayo imetuvunja moyo kidogo, manake tulikuwa tunatarajia watu watatokea, especially kwa hii mambo ya UDA ambao wananyanyasa watu. I wish wangetokea tu ndio tutandike hii UDA, maana wanatumia nafasi ya kuharibu watu na kutumia fedha ili kunyanyasa. Yani hiyo ni pesa ya wananchi wanatumia kununua tena watu ndio wasipate haki.
Na asante sana kwa sababu ya muda. Nitasema tu hayo ni madai ambayo Rashid na Lulu yanachunguzwa na yako katika mikononi mwa maafisa wa IEBC na vile vile maafisa wa polisi ambao wanachunguza madai hayo ya kwamba kumekuwa na kuhitilafiana na ile uhuru wa wapiga kura kuweza kufanya haki yao namna ambavyo inavyowezekana. Kwa hivyo Lulu na Rashid, ndivyo hali ilivyo katika mji huu wa Narok Town, na tutaweza kuzidi tu kuangalia vituo vingine mambo yako namna gani kwenye studio.
Naam, shukran sana Ben Kirui. Kama ulivyoeleza ni madai ambayo tutasubiri kuangalia kama yana mshiko ama yana mshiko, lakini kwa hivi sasa Tunakufahamisha kwamba kupiga kura katika wadi ya Kariobangi North hapa Nairobi wanaendelea kufika katika vituo vya kupiga kura katika uchaguzi mdogo wa kuchagua mwakilishi wadi mpya eneo hilo. Na wapiga kura 24,500 ndio wanatarajiwa kushiriki uchaguzi huo ambao umevutia wawaniaji 16. Na uchaguzi huo unaandaliwa baada ya kifo cha Joel Munuve mwezi wa 4 mwaka huu. Naam, kwa hivi sasa tunaungana naye moja kwa moja mwanahabari wetu Seth Olale atufahamishe vile zoezi hilo linavyoendelea. Kwako Seth.
Na asante sana Rashid na Lulu. Ni kwamba zoezi linaendelea kulingana na taratibu na mikakati iliyowekwa. Hatujaweza kutazama tatizo lolote kulingana na shughuli hii kulinganishwa na maeneo mengine ambapo ghasia ama vurugu imeshuhudiwa. Hapa katika wadi ya Kariobangi Kaskazini, vituo vyote 38 katika maeneo yote 5, vituo hivyo viliweza kufunguliwa na kutekeleza kuanzishwa kwa shughuli ya kupiga kura, na shughuli hiyo inaendelea moja kwa moja shwari. Na hivi sasa hebu tu nimuite hapa Abdi Roba ambaye ni msimamizi wa shughuli ya kupiga kura katika wadi ya Kariobangi Kaskazini. Hebu tueleze tu kufikia sasa kuna ile voter turnout, ni jinsi vipi wapiga kura wameweza kujitokeza tangu tu shughuli ya kupiga kura ilipoanza rasmi mwendo wa asubuhi?
Takriban saa 7, kwa sababu tunapata the turnout in intervals of 2 hours. Ya saa 5 ilikuwa around 20%. Right now the figure is around 25%, na tunatarajia pia wapigaji kura wajitokeze kwa sababu wengine wameenda kazi na watarudi mapema kujitokeza kupiga kura, because tumefanya voter education vizuri. Na hii ward ni ward nyingine kadogo lakini iko na population wengi ambaye ni takriban wapigaji kura 24,500.
Na kumekuwa na malalamishi yote kulingana na wasimamizi wako ambao vile wanatekeleza shughuli hii. Tumeweza kupata ujumbe kutoka baadhi tu ya wagombea kwamba wana wasiwasi kwamba kulikuwa na visa vya ile tunaita bribery. Je, kwa maoni yako umepata malalamishi yoyote kulingana na pengine utoaji hongo kwa wapiga kura?
Hatujapata malalamishi yoyote kutoka wagombeaji kwa sasa, na kwa sababu tuliweka utaratibu ya mgombeaji ambaye akona shida ama akona malalamishi yote kutueleza, lakini kwa saa hii mpaka saa hii hatuja receive any complaint from the candidates.
Na kwa sababu tu ni wadi ya Kariobangi Kaskazini ambayo inajumuisha takriban wapigaji kura ambao wamesajiliwa 24,500, pengine tutuelezee katika shughuli ya kuhesabu kura itachukua muda gani kwa ile experience au mazoea ambayo uko nayo? Shughuli hii itakapoanza rasmi mwendo wa saa 11 jioni, tueleze tu itachukua muda gani?
Hii kuhesabu kura itaanza saa 11, na hii saa 11 wagombeaji na wagombea 16. Na wagombeaji 16 wote, hata kama amepata 0, unafaa uhesabu. Ukihesabu hiyo inaweza kuwa inachukua muda, lakini tunatarajia kwa sababu ni by election na position pia ni moja, tunatarajia to receive the result early enough, na tutakuwa na ushindi, kutangaza ushindi mapema kuliko ile ya general election.
Na tumeweza kuona kwamba kuna wale wapigaji kura ambao mbali tu na kupiga kura hapo awali vile wamesalia katika vituo vya kupiga kura katika vituo hivyo vyote 88 katika wadi ya Kariobangi Kaskazini. Maelezo kutoka tume ya uchaguzi IEBC ni nini hasa wakati wa shughuli ya kuhesabu kura?
Tulikuwa na mkutano na watu tunaita chief agent, tuliwatrain, na baadaye pia tulikuwa na mkutano na wagombeaji, na tulikuwa na voter educators, tulikuwa na stakeholders meeting. Tuliwaambia vizuri wananchi akijitokeza kupiga kura anafaa apige kura aende nyumbani. mtu ambaye anaruhusiwa kwa sheria kuchunga kura ni agents. Na candidates wote na hao wagombeaji wote wako na agent wao kwa kituo. Agents hawa wako na type mbili. Type ya kwanza ni poll agent ambaye saa hii tuko nazo kwa polling station. Hao ndio watashuhudia vile itahesabiwa kura, na mwisho kimaliza kuhesabiwa kura before itangaze, nao pia wanaweka sahihi. Walishuhudia mbele yao hii kura ilihesabiwa na waka approve this result na wanaweka sahihi. Sasa hawa wakikuja, kwa sheria kura inaanza na inaisha kwa kituo cha kupiga kura. Tukikuja naye tallying center ni kuweka tu pamoja, na tuna tallying center pia tuko na chief agents, na tulikuwa tumewatrain hawa chief agents kuchukua result kutoka polling station zao, na wakikuja kura hiyo result ikikuja sasa kwa tallying center tunahakisha pamoja. Hii ni ile ulipata kutoka polling station, once ikiwa pamoja tunaweka pamoja na tunatangaza mshindi.
Basi ni msimamizi wa kupiga kura katika wadi ya Kariobangi Kaskazini, Abdi Roba, akitueleza kwamba ni maagenti pekee ambao watakubaliwa tu kufika katika eneo kuu la kuhesabu kura, yani ward tallying center hapa katika shule ya upili ya Our Lady of Fatma katika eneo la Kariobangi Kaskazini. Na kumbuka kwamba tayari wagombea wote 16 ambao wamejumuishwa katika zoezi hili tayari wamepiga kura, wakiwemo mgombea kupitia chama cha DCP ambaye ni David Wanyoike ambaye aliweza kupiga kura katika shule ya sekondari ya Kariobangi ya wasichana, yani Kariobangi Girls, na vile vile mgombea wa chama cha ODM ambaye ni Michael Ouma aliweza kupiga kura hapo awali katika shule ya msingi ya Kariobangi, yani Kariobangi Primary. Na tutakuwa tunakita kambi hapa katika wadi hii ya Kariobangi kukuletea moja kwa moja jinsi shughuli ya kupiga kura itakapokamilika mwendo wa saa 11 jioni na shughuli ya kuhesabu kura itakapoanza wakati huo hadi tamati. Rashid na Lulu.
Naam, shukran sana Seth Olale kwa kutueleza kinachoendelea na kilichoendelea katika maeneo hayo, lakini kwa hivi sasa turuhusu tuelekee maeneo ya Baringo.
Naam, tunaelekea Baringo ambapo idadi ndogo ya wapiga kura imeweza kujitokeza kushiriki uchaguzi wa seneta mpya wa Baringo. Na
uchaguzi huo umewavutia wagombea 6 ambao wanaazimia kuziba pengo lililoachwa wazi kufuatia kifo cha marehemu seneta William Cheptumo aliyeaga dunia Februari mwaka huu. Naam, Steve Leto anafuatilia mambo kaunti hiyo na sasa naungana nasi mubashara kwa mengi zaidi. Rashid, tunaungana naye Steve Leto na yuko peke yake leo. Naam, Steve Leto, tufahamishe mengi kuhusiana na kile ambacho kinaendelea, maana kumekuwa na shughuli ndefu kuanzia asubuhi na sasa hivi najua hauna kivuli cha VAR, kwa hiyo tueleze kunaendeleaje Baringo?
Ni kweli Rashid, sina kivuli cha VAR kwa sasa, lakini hawapo mbali, manake pia wao wanafanya pita zao za maeneo za ama vituo vya kupigia kura. Lakini niliko sasa nimetua kutoka Baringo Kaskazini, sasa nipo Baringo Kusini, shule ya msingi ya Marigat, ambapo tunazidi tu kutizama
Na mtazamaji, tukisubiri Leto atengeze mitambo, ni kwamba twende Kasipul ambapo wanahabari wetu Gatete Njoroge na pia vile Crispin Otieno wanafuatilia uchaguzi huo, na sasa tunaungana nao mubashara watufahamishe jinsi upigaji kura unavyoendelea.
Naam, Crispin, kama unatupata vizuri.
Lulu hapa. Na Rashid, na kupata vizuri hapa nipo katika shule ya msingi ya Kasimba katika mji wa Oyugis, ambapo kando na jinsi ambavyo hali ilivyokuwa mwendo wa asubuhi, tayari tunaona msururu ama msongamano wa watu ambao tulikuwa tunashuhudia mwendo wa asubuhi katika kituo hiki cha kupigia kura. Msongamano huo kwa sasa haupo tena, kwani wale ambao walifika mpaka sasa idadi inazidi kuwa chini mno. Kama mpiga picha wako labda anaweza kuonyesha kile ambacho kinaendelea hapa. Hapa ndipo mwendo wa asubuhi kulikuwa na watu kadhaa tu ambao walikuwa wamejitokeza kupiga kura kuanzia mwendo wa saa 12 mpaka mwendo wa saa 4, na hapo baadaye idadi ikazidi kuwa ndogo mpaka sasa. Kwa hivyo taswira katika mji wa Oyugis kama eneo bunge la Kasipul, tumekuwa tukizunguka na mwenzangu Gatete ambaye pia amekuwa akitathmini hali jinsi ilivyo kwa sasa. Mji wa Oyugis tumepita hapo muda mfupi tu kufika hapa, tumeona kulikuwa na vurugu kidogo baina ya vijana kutoka kundi pinzani, na imesababisha wafanyabiashara katika mji huo kufunga maduka yao. Lakini niko naye Gatete, pia tuelezee tu, tulikuwa tumeachana wakati mwingine ukizungumza na wale maafisa wakuu wa IEBC, na vile vile sijui kama uliweza kupata wale wakuu wa usalama. Hali iko vipi mpaka sasa kwa mujibu wa tathmini yako?
Na asante sana Crispin, tunaendelea kukita kambi hapa katika eneo bunge la Kasipul. Tumezuru maeneo tofauti. Asubuhi saa 12 asubuhi tulikuwa katika kituo hiki ambapo ni shule ya msingi ya Kasimba, na wakati ambapo shughuli nzima ilianza ya kupiga kura kulikuwa na foleni, lakini hivi sasa hapa kuna vituo 4 vya kupigia kura, na kwa sasa hivi ninapotazama vituo vingi hakuonekani kama kuna dalili ya shughuli. Kuna wapiga kura wanafika moja kwa moja. Nimeweza kuzungumza na yule ambaye ni msimamizi wa tume ya uchaguzi hapa katika eneo bunge la Kasipul, Rebecca Abwaku, ambaye amenieleza tu kufikia sasa kile kituo ambacho kimeweza kuandikisha idadi kubwa ni 42% ya wapiga kura ni katika kituo kimoja ambacho kimeweza kuandikisha idadi kubwa, lakini kuna kituo ambacho pia kimeweza kuandikisha idadi ndogo, ikiwa ni 12% ya wakazi ama wale ambao wamejiandikisha kupiga kura katika kituo hicho. Hii inamaanisha kwamba ni idadi ndogo sana. Iwapo kile kituo ambacho kina idadi kubwa ni 42% na kile kituo ambacho kina watu wachache ambao wamejitokeza kupiga kura ni 12%. Na kumbuka Crispin ya kwamba tumebakisha saa 4 kabla zoezi nzima kuisha, kwani ilianza mwendo wa saa 12 asubuhi na itakamilika mwendo wa saa 11 jioni. Kwa hivyo Crispin, ni saa chache tu ambazo zimesalia zoezi hili kukamilika. Tunatarajia kwamba labda kuna wale ambao labda waliamka kwa ajili ya shughuli za kazi watakuwa wakifika hapa mwendo wa jioni na kuweza kupata muda wao wa kupiga kura pia na kuhakikisha kwamba wamechagua yule kiongozi ambao wanataka. Lakini kwa sasa idadi ni ndogo. Pia kumbuka tuliweza kushuhudia kile kisa cha ghasia pale katika shule ya msingi ya Gorosare, na maafisa wa usalama tayari wameanza uchunguzi. Tumejaribu kuwatafuta wakuu wa usalama eneo hili kuweza kujua wamefikia wapi na uchunguzi, ila kwa sasa hatujaweza kuwapata. Kwa ajili najua wako katika mbioni kuhakikisha ya kwamba wanawapata labda wale waliohusika, na pia wanahakikisha kwamba uchunguzi unaofanya umekamilika na kutupa taarifa kamili. Tutaendelea kuwatafuta ili waweze kutupa taarifa kamili kuhusiana na tukio hilo, na labda iwapo kuna matukio mengine ambayo yameweza kutokea hapa na ni hatua ipi watakuwa wakichukua kama maafisa wa usalama. Crispin.
Shukrani sana. Huyu ni Gatete Njoroge kutoka hapa. Vile vile tutakuwa tukizunguka kama nilivyosema, imesalia tu takriban chini ya saa 4 kabla shughuli hii kutamatika rasmi mwendo wa jioni. Vile vile macho yote sasa yatakuwa yakiangaziwa katika kule eneo la ama shule ya upili ya wavulana ya Agorosare, kwani hapa ndipo kuna kituo kikuu cha kujumlisha kura kutoka vituo vyote vya kupigia kura siku hii ya leo. Lakini kabla ya kuelekea katika eneo ambalo shughuli hii itakuwa ikiandaliwa mwendo wa jioni, mtaturuhusu tuendelee kuzidi kuzunguka tuone hali ikoje katika eneo bunge hili nzima la Kasipul, na vile vile tutakuwa tukiungana nanyi tena baadaye, Rashid na Lulu, ili tuweze kuwapa jinsi hali ilivyo katika eneo bunge hili na kuhusu uchaguzi mdogo wa eneo bunge la Kasipul.
Naam, shukrani sana Crispin Otieno kwa maelezo. Kwa hali inavyoendelea, Lulu, bwana, jitokeza ile hoja kwamba bado idadi, hatujasikia taarifa kwamba idadi imeongezeka, lakini kwa mambo yanavyosonga idadi itaongezeka. Kitu tunapoelekea kwa Robert Masai, yeye kuanzia asubuhi idadi ilikuwa nzuri katika maeneo ya Purko. Tusikize kama hali ikoje.
Na kwako Robert Masai, hali ikoje?
Nama Lulu na Rashid, bila shaka niko kwenye moja ya kituo cha kupigia kura katika shule ya msingi ya Kumba kwenye wadi ya Purko, na kama ulivyosema ama kama unavyoona nyuma yangu, hamna shughuli. Shughuli ni chache kabisa, ikiashiria tu kwamba wapiga kura wengi wameshamaliza shughuli na wameenda nyumbani. Asubuhi katika eneo hili kulikuwa na idadi ya juu sana ya watu ambao walikuwa wamekuja kuweza kupiga kura, lakini kufikia sasa ni mtu mmoja tu, lakini bado maafisa wa IEBC wako hapa wakizingatia kwamba hadi saa 11 ndipo vituo vitafungwa. Lakini kwa sasa, kwa mfano katika shule hii watu ni wachache sana. Hapa kwa labda muda wa saa 1 uliopita, chini ya watu 10 tu hivi ndio wamekuja kuweza kushiriki zoezi hilo. Na pia pita zetu katika vituo vingine vya kupigia kura, idadi sasa inaendelea kuwa ya chini. Labda tu ni kwa sababu pia idadi ya wapiga kura katika wadi hii ni 4848 pekee. Kwa hivyo labda kwa kukamilisha shughuli kwa wakati wa mapema ndio labda imesababisha ukiona kwa sasa ni watu wachache mno ambao wanazidi kufika hapa na kupiga kura. Lakini shughuli hii haijakumbwa na sintofahamu yoyote wala vurugu. Imekuwa ni shughuli ya amani tangu asubuhi, na tumezuru vituo ambavyo wagombeaji wote watatu wanapigia kura. Tumekuwa hapa ambapo mgombeaji Amos Mbusia wa chama cha UDA aliweza kupiga kura yake hapa, kisha tukaelekea katika shule ya Ngoile ambapo mgombeaji wa chama cha ODM Daniel Laikuni alipiga kura yake, na vile vile tukaelekea shule ya Ilparwa ambapo mgombeaji wa chama cha DCP Sanare Saidimu alipiga kura yake, na wote wakaeleza kwamba wameridhishwa na mchakato na namna kura inaendelea kupigwa. Kwa hivyo tulifanya mahojiano nao na hii hapa kauli zao.
Hapa mimi nimependa vile wanaendelea. Kumekuwa na amani, kumekuwa na maelewano kabisa, wanapiga kura ya haki, na niliwaambia tu hapo mbeleni tutangulize sana amani katika Purko. Hakuna maana ya kukosana ama ya kukorofishana, na ili hali sisi ni watu moja, sisi ni watu tumetoka sehemu moja.
Ninaendelea tu kuhimiza watu waendelee kupiga kura na amani bila tashwishi yote. Nimeona ndani wanaendelea vizuri, na ninaomba tu watu waendelee kupiga hiyo kura bila tashwishi yoyote. Amani ndio kitu ya maana. Leo hii kura itaisha, kesho tutaendelea kama wana Purko, na ninasema tu ya kwamba wache nipongeze watu wa Purko kwa sababu hii vile wanaendelea kupiga kura. Nimeona kwa stations 2-3 saa hii nimetembea, inaona hii shughuli inaendelea vyema, na nimekuja hapa saa hii mimi mwenyewe nimemaliza kupiga kura na nimekuta inaendelea vyema.
Kitu kingine nimeona process inaendelea vizuri, hata mimi nishapiga kura na tumaini itaendelea kuwa na utulivu kama huu, na naomba pia wakaaji wa Purko tuendelee kupiga kura na amani na bila furugu yoyote, kwa sababu tunaenda kuchagua kiongozi na kila mtu ako na haki yake ya kumchagua.
Katika hiyo center zote tumepanga askari wawili ambao wako armed. Kwa saa hizi hatujashuhudia kisa yoyote ya uhalifu ama uibaji. Wananchi wako organized. Naomba tu wananchi, wakati mnapopiga kura uelekee nyumbani. Tukikupata unatangatanga, hiyo itakuwa ni maneno mengine. Watu waende nyumbani, ukipiga kura uende nyumbani, ungojee mpaka saa 11 wakati kura itahesabiwa, msikie matokeo ukiwa nyumbani. Umewekwa mark, na tukikupata kwa kituo kingine umepiga kura, tutakuchukulia hatua.
Nama, kama umesikia ni kauli ya wagombeaji watatu ambao wanamenyana kwenye kinyang'anyiro hichi, pamoja na kamanda wa polisi wa Kajiado ambaye ametuhakikishia pia kwamba usalama utakuwepo. Na kama nilivyokuarifu, sasa vituo vinaendelea kushuhudia idadi ndogo tu ya wapiga kura, lakini tunazidi tu kutembea hapa na pale kuhakikisha kwamba tunawaletea matukio yote. Lakini kwa sasa baadaye tutakuwa naelekea katika eneo la Ngoile Boys ambapo itakuwa ni kituo cha kujumuisha kura ili tuweze kujua nani atatangazwa mshindi mwisho wa siku. Kwa hivyo ni swala ambalo tunazidi kufuatilia tu hapa katika kaunti ya Kajiado, alafu tutawajuza zaidi hapo baadaye. Kwako Rashid na Lulu, mimi naitwa Robert Masai kutoka kaunti ya Kajiado.
Naam, shukran sana Robert Masai. Tukienda Malava ni kwamba idadi ndogo ya wapiga kura imeshuhudiwa katika vituo kadhaa kwenye uchaguzi mdogo eneo bunge la Malava, kaunti ya Kakamega.
Na wakazi wanapiga kura katika vituo 198 vya kupiga kura kwenye kinyang'anyiro ambacho kimewavutia wagombea 9. Mleta Latengesi tulikuwa naye mapema akatueleza kuhusiana na kilichojiri, na tujui kama kwa hivi sasa kuna utofauti ama hali kama ile. Tuongea naye moja kwa moja kupitia njia ya simu.
Naam, shukran sana Rashid na Lulu. Hali ilivyo kwa sasa katika eneo bunge la Malava ni kwamba maafisa wa polisi na vile vile wale wa DCI wanaendelea na uchunguzi pamoja na kuwasaka wale ambao walifanya kile kitendo cha kuchoma lile gari ambalo lilipatikana limechomwa katika eneo la Munjoe katika wadi ya Butali, ambapo kama nilivyoelezea awali ni kwamba tukio hilo lilitokea baada ya wafuasi wa Seth Panyako na wafuasi wa David Ndakwa wa UDA walipokutana katika barabara ya Butali, na hapo kukazuka vurugu, na baadaye katika vurugu hiyo kukawa na risasi ambayo ilifuatiliwa kuelekea upande wa gari hilo na kusababisha gari hilo kuteketea. Kwa hivyo maafisa wa polisi wamefungua uchunguzi kuhusu kisa hicho pamoja na kisa kingine ambacho kinamhusisha Seth Panyako ambaye aliripoti kuwa alivamiwa usiku wa kuamkia leo pamoja na mkewe wakiwa katika hoteli moja eneo la Kaburengo, na alielekea katika kituo cha polisi kupeleka malalamishi yake, lakini inaonekana kwamba taarifa hiyo iko na afisa wa polisi. Bado tunasubiri afisa wa usalama hususan kuhusu matukio haya ya ni vipi ambavyo wanaweka mikakati kuhakikisha kwamba wale wanahusika kwa sheria. Kwa hivyo ndio hali ambayo ilikuwa awali. Taharuki imetanda katika maeneo ambayo matukio haya yalijiri, lakini Rashid na Lulu, katika maeneo mengine tumeshuhudia tu amani. Shughuli ya kupiga kura inaendelea. Pote awali tulimuona David naye Seth Panyako mapema asubuhi alipiga kura katika shule au kituo cha kupigia kura cha St. Joseph's Lunyi. Kwa hivyo wote tayari wamekwisha kupiga kura pamoja na wagombea wengine 4 ambao wanakimezea mate kiti hiki cha Malava. Kumbuka kwamba ni kinyang'anyiro ambacho kiliwavutia mwanzo kabisa wagombea 9, lakini 3 wakaja wakawaunga mkono wagombea wengine, na hivyo sasa kinyang'anyiro hicho kimesalia na wagombea 6. Kwa hivyo wakaazi wapiga kura walijitokeza asubuhi na mapema, japo Rashid na Lulu tumeshuhudia kwamba sio wengi mno, ikizingatiwa kwamba eneo bunge hili la Malava lina wapiga kura 94,417. Kwa hivyo japo ilijua kuwa wengi wao watajitokeza, tumepata kuona kwamba idadi ya watu katika kituo cha kupigia kura, kwa mfano unaweza kupata kituo kimoja cha kupigia kura kina watu 500, lakini wale ambao walikuja asubuhi unapata ni watu 20 na ikawa ni jambo limeibua mjadala, manake sasa inaonekana watu kuja kama ilivyo aidha vijijini wanasema kwamba wanajiandaa wataenda kupiga kura. Kwa hivyo hali ya usalama pia imeimarishwa katika bunge hili la Malava. Tumewaona visa mbalimbali wakishika doria katika wadi tofauti. Kumbuka kwamba eneo bunge hili lina wadi 7 na vituo vya kupigia kura ni 160 ambavyo wapiga kura wanatarajiwa kujiwasilisha pale na kupiga kura. Basi msimamizi wa bunge hili Salim Abdalla Salim, ambaye sasa atakuwa anaendesha shughuli ya kujumlisha kura zote katika kuhesabia kura cha eneo bunge la Malava shule ya Malava Boys. Tuje na Stefan Yako wa DPK na pia kisa hicho cha kuchomwa kwa gari au kuteketezwa kwa gari katika wadi ya Butali, ambapo tayari tulikuwa tumekwisha kufika huko. Tayari tumeangazia hadithi hiyo, na bila shaka tunakuwa tunawajuza watazamaji wetu mengi zaidi yanayojiri katika eneo bunge hili la Malava. Kwako studioni Lulu na Rashid.
Naam, shukran sana Melita Oletenges kutujengea picha na kutuonesha pia vile vile kulichorekodi mambo yalivyokuwa. Na tutakuwa tunazidi kurudi kwako ili tupate yakini wakati wa Kenya wanaendelea kupiga kura na kusubiri kuhesabiwa kwa kura zile.
Na mtazamaji, na katika eneo bunge la Ugunja shughuli ya upigaji kura inaendelea huku idadi ndogo tu ya wapiga kura ikijitokeza. Na
wengi wanaojitokeza kupiga kura ni wakongwe walio na ari ya kumchagua mrithi wa Waziri Opiyo Wandayi. Na
kwa hivi sasa tunaungana naye Laura Otieno atueleze mengi zaidi kuhusu kinyang'anyiro hicho kilichowavutia wagombea 10. Laura Otieno, hali koje kwa hivi sasa? Je, wakazi wameweza kujitokeza kwanzia?
Na Lulu, kwa sasa vituo vingi vya kupiga kura vina idadi ndogo sana ya wapiga kura. Kama hapa tuliko ni Ogeda Primary School ambayo ina vijito viwili vya kupigia kura. Asubuhi tunaambiwa kwa kulikuwa kidogo kuna idadi ya watu kiasi, lakini kwa sasa ni watu mmoja mmoja ambao wanafika katika eneo hili. Lakini kulingana na maelezo ambayo alikuwa ametolewa na kamanda wa polisi wa kaunti hii, alikuwa ameeleza kuwa baada ya mtu kupiga kura aondoke aende nyumbani, lakini kuna wengi ambao bado wameketi huku. Naona kuna vijana pia, kulikuwa na wakongwe ambao walikuwa wapo katika shughuli ya kupiga kura. Anza na jina na unaambie ulikuja hapa saa ngapi na kama tayari ushapiga kura.
Mimi kwa majina naitwa Titus Odhiambo. Nilikuja hapa asubuhi, nishapiga kura, lakini turnout ndio kidogo. Nishapiga kura kitambo, lakini tunashukuru imani iko, naona maaskari pia wametulinda mzuri kabisa.
Na kwa nini umesalia hapa kwa polling center na walikuwa wamesema ukishapiga kura uende nyumbani?
Sasa mimi ni security pale, naongoja kura ya mheshimiwa mwingine hapa.
Okay, sawa sawa. Pia naona kuna mzee hapa ulikuwa unaniambia asubuhi ulikuwa umeenda katika kazi za kawaida. Angalia hapa, anza na jina na unaambie ulikuja saa ngapi na umeona kama hali nzima inakaa vipi.
Mimi ndio nimefika, na kwa majina naitwa Olto Wino. Ni mkaaji hapa, nafanya hapa chini kwa bahari. Yaani nimeona watu sio wengi. Na nini naenda salama kabisa. Usalama pia iko sawa. Shukrani.
Sawa sawa. Pengine kama tunaweza kuingia huko ndani ili pia tuone jinsi ambavyo mchakato wenyewe unaendelea. Kuna baadhi ya wapiga kura ambao wanaendelea kufika, manake kumbuka kwamba shughuli hii ilianza saa 12 asubuhi na inatarajiwa kuendelea mpaka saa 11 ambapo wale wasimamizi wa shughuli za kura wataanza kujumlisha kura ambazo zitakuwa zimepigwa hapa. Kama unavyoona kuna wasimamizi mbalimbali, kuna mpiga kura mmoja ambaye amefika na wanatumia kile kifaa cha KIMS-kit. Kwa hivyo pindi tu mtu anapofika anapeana kitambulisho chake, kisha wanatumia pengine vidole, na kuna baadhi ambao vidole vyao havionekani, basi wanatumia mbinu nyingine ya kuangalia sura, wanapigwa picha na kisha kifaa hicho kinadhibitisha iwapo mpiga kura ambaye amefika hapa yupo ya wapiga kura. Kwa hivyo kama unavyoona ndo mchakato hivyo unavyoendelea. Upande huu mwingine kuna maajenti wa wale wagombea mbalimbali wakiangalia jinsi ambavyo hali inaendelea. Vile vile kuna wale ambao wanaitwa observers ambao wanazunguka hawako katika vituo vyote, lakini hapo awali pia kama unavyoona pia kijisanduku cha kupigia kura ambacho kimewekwa vile vifaa vya usalama kuhakikisha kwamba wakati ambapo kura itafunguliwa itakuwa ni kura pekee ambazo zimewekwa pale ndani ndizo zitakuwa zinahesabiwa. Awali tulikuwa na naibu mwenyekiti wa kama tume walikuwa wanaona kama kuna idadi ndogo ya wapiga kura katika eneo hili la Ugunja, na alikuwa anawataka wakazi wajitokeze ili kupiga kura katika uchaguzi huu mdogo. Kufikia sasa kuja kuwa na visa vyovyote vya utovu wa usalama ambao vimeripotiwa hapa, lakini baadhi ya wagombea ambao tumezungumza nao walikuwa wanasema kuwa wanashirikiana na asasi za usalama. Manake kulikuwa na baadhi yao ambao walikuwa wanasema kuwa kuna madai kuwa kuna baadhi ya watu ambao wanatumia mbinu zisizofaa ili kuwashawishi wapiga kura kupiga kura katika njia fulani, lakini kwa sasa hakuna chochote ambacho kimeripotiwa pengine kama kuna yeyote ametiwa nguvuni, lakini ndivyo hali inavyoendelea. Tutazunguka katika sehemu mbalimbali, lakini itimiapo kama saa 2 hivi usiku tutarejea katika shule ya upili ya Ambira ambapo ndio jumla ya zote zitafanywa, na kisha yule msimamizi wa uchaguzi katika eneo hili eneo bunge la Ugunja atatangaza ni nani ambaye amepata kura nyingi zaidi, na kisha wakazi wa Ugunja watakuwa wamezungumza na kuchagua ni nani ambaye atawakilisha katika bunge la kitaifa. Lulu.
Give more strength to your hair with...
Marriage is one of life's most monumental decisions. It's not just about the wedding day or the ring. It's about committing your heart, mind, and soul to a lifelong partnership. But here's the big question. Are you really ready?
Wamezamia katika Lindi la umasikini, huku mabwenyenye wachache wakitembea na magari makubwa, na ni hao wanaambia hawa kina Gen Z kwamba mchukue kura. Hiyo kura kama hija tusaidia, manake lazima pia ni naweza kumuunga mkono kwa kiasi fulani. Imefika wakati ambapo kura yetu lazima itusaidie, na isiwe tu ni kama tambiko ama desturi tu ya kupiga kura.
Bwana Fred, unajua umesema kwamba IEBC ni kama mbwa ambaye ni kibogoyo. Na mimi kwa ufahamu wangu mbwa kibogoyo na mbwa koko hawana tofauti kubwa sana.
Kweli.
Lakini kuzani kwamba IEBC imeripotiwa haya mambo, na sidhani kama kuna hatua kubwa sana ambayo imechukuliwa. Bwana Muluka.
IEBC inaonyesha kwamba tayari inaanza kushindwa na kibarua. Tujue kwamba kuna maadili ya uchaguzi. Na wao wanawauliza wagombezi wanasiasa na waangalizi wao kuweka sahihi kwenye daftari fulani za kuonyesha kwamba kuna maadili ambayo watayazingatia. Na wao walichukua kiapo cha kuwa waadilifu katika utumishi wao. Na huo uadilifu unapunguka jinsi ambavyo wenzangu wameweza kunena hapa. Utaona kwamba tume ya maadili na mapambano dhidi ya rushwa waliweza kumkosoa. Wachana na hiyo ESCC iliweza kumlenga Mwenge, mojawapo wa wagombezi. Nasema huyu ana madosari fulani. Hastahili mtu, hata ameenda akabadili jina kwamba sasa aje na sura mpya, kwamba sasa sio Baraka tena lakini ni Abdalla wa Mudhendu Mluka. Sasa amefika hapo na IEBC imeangalia upande ule wa pili, imempitisha. Tumeambiwa vizuri sana hapa kwamba na Fred kwamba wanajua vizuri kwamba hata kama mtaenda mahakamani kujaribu kubatilisha, wakati ambapo hatua hizo zote za kupitia mahakama muende kwa mahakama ya pili, mtoke hapo muende kwenye mahakama ya juu zaidi ya upeo, muda utakuwa umeisha. Huyo mtu atakuwa tayari ameshamaliza miaka 2 na hiyo kesi ya kubatilisha huo uchaguzi itakuwa sasa tena haina maana. Lakini Erastus Ethacon, wakati tunaelekea kumaliza, kwa sababu namuona dada mrembo akinitazama, ajue kwamba yuko kwenye mtihani pamoja na wale wengine alio nao wako kwenye mtihani. Na wakumbuke kwamba sio wao wa kwanza kufika kule, kwamba kulikuwa Sami Kivuitu na wanajua yaliyompata, kwamba walikuja akina Isaac Hassan wajua yaliyowapata, wakaja akina Chebukati na wajua yaliyowapata, na sasa ni wakati wao kwamba waweze kuonyesha Wakenya kwamba wao kweli wanaweza kusimamia na kuwasilisha uchaguzi mwadilifu unaoweza kuaminika. Au kama sio hivyo, wataanza kuona tu Wakenya wakianza kuteta tu baada ya huu uchaguzi. Leo, wiki ijayo, utaanza kuona watu wakisema kwamba waondolewe hawa akina Ethacon, kwamba hatuna imani na wao. Kwa hivyo huu ndio wakati wao wa kujinusuru.
Bila shaka. Na hivyo wewe binti mrembo anavyokuangalia ndivyo Wakenya wanavyotazama ABC. Kuna kwamba anapata ile matokeo mazuri Bwana Muluka. Asante. Nadhani kwamba muda unatupa kisogoroga. Tupate simu za mwisho kutoka kwao. Sentensi moja kisha tuwaruhusu na sote sasa tufarakane ili tukaribishe kikosi cha Kiingereza. Itaanza kwako Bwana Joshua.
Asante. Kwa IBC mtihani ndio huu, ni vizuri kupita. Sisi ndio tuta-mark exam. Vijana wenzangu na Wakenya wote mjiandikishe kwa wapiga kura. Na tutazame sana vile IBC itabehave leo na kesho. Alafu baadaye tuone vile tutakuwa na mbinu za kuprotect kura zetu. Lakini tuchukue kura, tukue tayari. Vizuri.
Ogweno.
Nadhani wito wangu ni sawia tu na ya wenzangu, mkubwa wangu hapa daktari na mwenzangu, kwamba ujumbe ni kwa IEBC kwamba mustakabali wa taifa hili liko mikononi mwenu. Tumewapa jukumu, rasilimali mmepewa ili kuona kwamba mnashikilia taifa hili namna mnavyoongoza uchaguzi, ikianzia chaguzi hizi ndogo, ndio tuwe na imani nanyi tunapoelekea katika uchaguzi mkubwa ujao. Kufanya jambo zuri siku zote ni muhimu, hata kama unakuja na uchungu fulani, lakini tulifanye tu, tusikie uchungu huu. Iwapo itabidi IBC ifinye na iume kama bado kuna meno, haswa yale meno ya ndani kidogo tu, waume tu, almradi tuweze kuwa na uchaguzi wa amani katika uchaguzi ambao unakuja, ambao utakuwa ndio muhimu katika taifa letu. Na niseme asante kwa fursa hii na pia kwa watazamaji wenu na kwa kututizama tu na kutusikiza, na wenzangu pia ambao kidogo wanasema an iron sharpens an iron, kwamba natoka hapa mtu ambaye nimejifunza mengi tu, si kwao bali pia kutoka kwenyu. Asante.
Daktari.
Asante. Nafikiri mwito ni huo. IBC tumeshawaeleza, polisi, Douglas Kanja, pia wewe, Wakenya wanakutazama na hata serikali kuu tunawatazama. Na kuna makosa yale ambayo yalitendeka, kuna watu wasio stahili kufanya kampeni, akina Wetangula, akina Musalia Mudavadi, akina Kithure Kindiki, ingawa yeye ni naibu wa rais, yake ni tofauti kidogo. Tunategemea kwamba tutaweza kupata ripoti kutoka kwa IBC ambayo itatuonyesha kwamba tunastahili kuwa na imani kwao tunapoelekea mbele. La sivyo kutakuwa mitafaruku kati ya sasa na mwaka wa 27.
Naam, bila shaka asanteni sana kwa kutenga muda na kuja kuwa nasi kwenye uchambuzi huu wa uchaguzi huu mdogo ambao unazidi kuendelea. Basi tunashukuru sana kwa nyinyi kutenga muda na kuja kuwa nasi hapa.
Na mtazamaji, ndani ya studio tumekuwa naye Daktari Barak Muluka ambaye ni mshauri wa mawasiliano. Vilevile tumekuwa naye Joshua Okeyo ambaye ni mwanaharakati wa vijana. Kisha tunaye Fred Ogweno ambaye ni mkurugenzi wa People's Bench, mtazamaji, ambao wamejiunga nasi kuanzia mwanzo hadi sasa tamati ya matangazo haya, wakati tukijitayarisha kumkaribisha mwenzangu Dan Mwangi pamoja na Michelle Ngele ambao watakuwa naingia uwanjani muda si mrefu bila shaka kuendeleza matangazo haya kwa lugha ya Kiingereza ama lugha
Kabla haujafunga kabisa, hatujakusanya virago na kuondoka, Watu wawili wamefariki kufikia sasa, hususan kwenye kampeni ambazo zimekuwa zikiendelezwa katika eneo bunge la Kasipul, na pia tumeshuhudia Peter Kaluma akishambuliwa. Basi labda tunaweza pata picha za moja kwa moja ya jinsi mbunge Peter Kaluma alivyoshambuliwa pale katika eneo hili akiwa katika shule moja ya upili ambapo alikuwa ni mwangalizi.
Mtazamaji, tumeshuhudia matukio kutoka Kasipul, na hapa picha hizi ambazo nazipata kwenye kiwambo chako ni picha za awali kutoka eneo la Mbeere Kaskazini, ambapo aliyekuwa mwanasheria mkuu Justin Muturi basi amefukuza ejenti mmoja, mtazamaji, kwa kuvalia mavazi ya chama cha UDA na amefukuza mpaka pale kuja lango kuu akamwondoa. Na unaona kwamba ghadhabu imempanda, ndio huyo ananyaka mwingine pale, mtazamaji, lazima afunzwe adabu, anamwambia. Na bila shaka ndivyo hali ilivyo pale, wengine wakijaribu kumkinga. Hebu tuwasikize ilikuwa namna gani pale.
Agent is wearing the yellow color, which he's not supposed to, because that is a UDA party color. UDA party color. So now we are seeing what looks like an engagement of the supporters here in Mbeere North. Of course, running battle starts. JB Muturi attacking a voter. That is what is happening in.
Na mtazamaji, ni picha za hapo awali kutoka eneo hili la Mbeere Kaskazini. Bila shaka ulikuwa ni mtafaruku kati yake aliyekuwa waziri Justin Muturi na pia ambaye kuna mwaniaji pale katika eneo hili Newton Kariuki ambaye anatafuta nafasi hii ya kuwa mbunge wa Mbeere Kaskazini. Basi ulikuwa ni mtafaruku kati yake na huyu ambaye ni mwangalizi wa uchaguzi pale katika eneo hili, mwakilishi wadi wa Chinga Kiruga Thuku. Ni kinyume na sheria bila shaka za wakati wowote wa uchaguzi mtu kuvalia sare, lakini labda tutakuwa tukipata hali halisi baadaye hapo tukiungana na mwanahabari wetu Ibrahim Karanja. Lakini kwa sababu nikiangalia lile vazi sijui kama ni la manjano kikweli, lakini labda watatuambia. Sasa kutoka hapo tuelekee wapi?
Tubadilishe mitabendi kidogo na tuingie katika maeneo ya bonde la ufa pale. Tuingie katika kaunti ya Nandi ambapo tuna mwenzetu Macharia Mbugwa anafuatizia matukio na matokeo kutoka kaunti hiyo. Macharia anampisha kwa sasa. Ameandaa taarifa moja murwa kabisa ambayo naomba kwa sasa tuipate.
Nick Naruga, niko katika wadi ya Chemundu Kapngetuni ambapo wakazi wameweza kujitokeza kuanzia mida ya asubuhi kuweza tu kupiga kura wakijaribu kutafuta mwakilishi wadi wa eneo hili, ikizingatiwa kwamba aliyekuwa mwakilishi wadi Julius Kipruto aliweza kuaga dunia mwezi wa Aprili mwaka huu, na imekuwa miezi 6 ya upweke kwa wakazi wa eneo hili. Licha ya hiyo yote, kama unavyoona nyuma yangu, ni kwamba kumekuwa na tatizo ya kwamba kumekuwa na wakazi wachache ambao wameweza kujitokeza kupiga kura katika vituo vyote 30 katika eneo hili, ikizingatiwa ya kwamba tume ya IEBC imeweza kukita kambi huku zaidi ya siku 10 ikijaribu tu kuweza kuelimisha na pia kuelezea wakazi jinsi ya kufanya shughuli hii yote ya kupiga kura. Katika eneo hili inatarajiwa kuwa na wapiga kura ambao wamejiandikisha zaidi ya 14,200 ambao wanatarajiwa kufanya shughuli hii katika vituo zaidi ya 30. Lakini hali imekuwa hivi tangu mida ya asubuhi, ikizingatiwa ya kwamba kila kituo ambacho tumeweza kutua kimekuwa na hali ya wakazi wachache ambao wanajitokeza kupiga kura. Katika kituo hiki ambacho kiko kinaitwa Tilalwa Primary, imezingatiwa ya kwamba kuna wakazi wachache ambao wameweza kujitokeza. Wanatarajia wakazi kama 1,040, na hadi sasa inasemekana licha ya hiyo yote, ikizingatiwa tunaelekea mida ya dhuhuri, kuna tatizo ya kwamba kuna wakazi wachache sana ambao wamejitokeza, na hawa ni wakazi chini ya 150. Shughuli ya kupiga kura aidha pia inafanyika kwa amani, inafanyika kwa utulivu. Usaidizi umeweza kuwekezwa kwa wakazi ambao wanahitaji usaidizi wowote. Pia kuna maejenti ambao wamejitokeza kuweza tu kuwasaidia na pia kutizama jinsi shughuli hii inavyotekelezwa na tume huru ya uchaguzi ya IEBC. Inasemekana pia ya kwamba usaidizi tu sio kwa wale ambao wanafanya shughuli hii peke yao, pia kwa wale ambao wana
not fair. Sasa hivi jana wanakuwa wamechukua kulia wanaondoka hivi. Wangu ndio huyo. It's not fair.
To 11.7% per annum as at 31st October 2025. Invest smart na Britam Bond Plus Fund. Chat with Bella WhatsApp bot on 0705 100 100 or use My Britam app to get started. Britam, 60 years of safeguarding Africa's dreams and aspirations.
In the chaos, it's hard to see if anything is wrong. But just wait. 'Cause the light has come.
Eldoret National Polytechnic are pleased to announce its 20th graduation ceremony, which will be held on Monday, 1st December 2025 at its main campus pavilion. Join us in celebrating the achievements of our graduates as they take this significant step towards their future. Tune in live on NTV from 9 a.m. to experience the inspiring moments.
But deep down, they are fighting silent battles.
Mwanaume ni jambo ambayo sio rahisi. Manake familia, ukoo, wanategemea wewe.
And that's why this week on Crossover, we get to address the elephant in the room. Men and their mental health.
Many a times, we keep so many things to ourselves. One of the reasons we do that is because the things we always open up to, some of them are thrown back at us.
To help us unpack this, so be sure to catch the show this Sunday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. only on NTV. And this is Crossover.
It's not about how you feel, but what you provide inside. Come close.
This is NTV.
Good afternoon and welcome to our continued coverage of the by-elections 2025 on this 27th day of November 2025, and we are following it up on the different counties, constituencies, wards, where we have different by-elections happening today. And we've seen already some significant action happening in regards to violence in some places, as well as instances of people who are voting without any undesirable incidents happening there. And we're going to be taking you through the next bunch of hours. Myself, Dan Mwangi, and
Michelle Ngele Odhiambo, many thanks for being with us in this wall-to-wall coverage of the 27th November by-elections. I beg your pardon. This has been billed as a first major exam for the new commissioners of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, as well as major independent institutions that deal with elections. See, if our electoral institutions can deliver peaceful and credible elections ahead of the larger battle in 2027. Our reporters are stationed all across the country in the hotspots where the by-elections are taking place as we measure the mood and the electoral process taking place today. For the larger part of the day, we have reported a low voter turnout in many of the areas where the by-elections are taking place today. Now, many would say it's just a by-election, but this by-election today tells us everything about the direction of the country's electoral democracy, Dan, and we'll be examining that for the better part of the day as we take a look at how the by-elections will conclude and how the voting process will take place. Already, it's been quite a day. We've seen quite dramatic events in Kakamega's Malava constituency there, with the incidents of violence reported in the region. We'll be giving you live details of what happens in the region, but also in studio with us, we have analysts who will be putting into context the events that we've been seeing for the better part of the day. We have a PNU's Executive Director, Chege Majus, with us in studio. He'll be putting into context much of what we'll be seeing in the course of the day.
Thank you very much. Yes, and we're expecting one other guest, and he shall be joining us in not too long, and that is Arnold Maliba, who's also a party leader, and he shall be giving us his views as we get to crunch the different details as we monitor what's happening in the different parts of the country where we have different by-elections happening. And now, without much ado, let's cross over to the county of Mandera, specifically in Banisa, where we have David Mudhoka standing by with an update. David, good afternoon. What's it like in Banisa?
And to be more specific, this is the Banisa Vocational College. It is one of the 81 polling centers that was set up and set aside here in Banisa for the voters to stream in and cast their vote. And the situation here at this particular polling center is a bit different from the situation that we've seen, especially in other polling centers within Banisa town and its outskirts. This is actually at the outskirts of Banisa town, because here the turnout is incredibly low. While in these other polling centers within Banisa town, we've found queues as well as some life and activity. Here, speaking to the polling officials, we have gathered that they are going for longer stretches without seeing any voter. When we were here about 20 minutes ago, we found a voter who was just going through the process, and after casting her vote, after leaving, there's been no voter who's come in to exercise their democratic right
and this paints the picture of a low voter turnout in some of the polling centers here. And actually speaking to the IEBC team that is on the ground, and to be specific, IEBC Commissioner Hassan Nur Hassan, he told us at 1 p.m. that the issue of low voter turnout was anticipated by the IEBC. One, because this is a by-election and it is a situation that is likely also to be witnessed in other by-elections across the country. But also secondly, there has been a persistent drought in this region, and a majority of residents who are pastoralists have since moved to other regions in search for literally greener pastures, and that's why the turnout in a majority of the 81 polling centers is a bit low. But he told us that as at 1 p.m., the turnout was at 30%, and in a region where the registered voters as at 2022 were 32,000, 30% translates to approximately over 9,000 or 10,000 voters. But he told us by the closing of the polls at 5 p.m., which is in about 2 hours from now, they anticipate that at least 50% of that 32%, or rather that 32,000 will have turned out and turned up to vote for their favorite candidate. This translating to about 11,000 to 12,000 voters to elect their next leader. This is surely a region that has craved and desired a leader or a member of parliament. Remember, they have been without representation for over 2 years and 8 months, and they have been complaining. We had residents who even moved to the court to try to convince the court to compel IEBC to conduct a by-election here pronto. But indeed, at the time, for quite some time, for over a year, since the departures of all the commissioners through different ways at the IEBC, that is in early 2023, the IEBC's hands were tied, and the commission could not conduct a by-election until earlier this year, when we saw the commission, or rather, yes, the commission reconstituted again, and a new IEBC chairperson come into place, as well as new 6 commissioners come into place. And so the choices are two, and the voters here have either a government candidate or an opposition candidate to fill the shoes of the late Kulo Maalim Hassan, who passed away in March 2023. At the time of passing, he was a member of the UDA party, and seeking to fill his shoes is his brother, Ahmed Maalim Hassan, who is also flying the UDA party flag. And we actually spoke to him earlier, where he had some hitches, where there were some hitches with him casting his vote, though he eventually managed to do it. And he was upbeat and optimistic that he will be emerging triumphant, and that he will be carrying the day and filling the shoes of his older brother. But he faces opposition from an opposition candidate, and this is a candidate of the United Progressive Alliance, and this is Nurdin Maalim Mohammed, who cast his vote sometimes earlier today at around 7 a.m. at one of the polling centers just at the peripheries of Banisa constituency. We couldn't quite reach there, but he still promised to speak to us to tell us what his expectations are. But so far, the key highlights of this particular by-election is low voter turnout, but at the same time, it's been a peaceful process, zero moments or zero incidents of violence. And so we will be monitoring the situation over the next 2 hours, because at a majority of these polling centers, polling or voting began at exactly 6 a.m. and they will be closing at 5 p.m. exactly, just to see what transpires within the next 2 hours, and now what transpires after 5 p.m. because that's when the final phase kicks in, and that will be the tallying of the votes. And with this low voter turnout, perhaps by midnight, we are likely to see who will be the next member of parliament of Banisa for at least the next 2 years. So that is it right now at Banisa constituency. I would like now to cross over to Baringo, where I understand my colleague Samuel Chesenge is on standby to give us the latest. Ruth, what do you have for us from Baringo?
Well, thank you, Mudoka. I think just as you've reported that you are witnessing low voter turnout, I beg your pardon, in Banisa. It's the same situation here in Baringo County. At the moment, I am in Kabel Primary School, which is hosting 2 polling centers, that is Kabel Primary and Kabel Secondary School, and the situation is the same. There's little to no activity apart from a few residents who are still streaming in to cast their vote. One after a long while, another one comes in. But as we were chatting with the presiding officers, they informed us that they expect a beehive of activities between now to around 3 p.m. since most of the residents here are farmers and they've been involved in farm activities for the better part of the day and work activities, and they should be coming here. So earlier on, just to bring you to speed, we witnessed UDA's candidate Vincent Chemite cast his vote at one of the polling centers a few kilometers from here, that is in Kamailel Primary School, and the situation was the same. As of 1 p.m., only 35 voters had turned up to cast their votes out of the total 436 registered voters. Remember, this vast county has 6 constituencies and 1,029 polling centers and 281,053 voters who are expected to take part in this exercise according to the IEBC 2022 register. But right now, let's just speak to the officers manning the polling stations in this area to give us a view of how the situation has been. Utasimama hapo, uanze kwa majina, utuambie so far how has the turnout been? How many voters do you have registered and how many have come?
Okay, my name is Benedict Tuya. I'm the presiding officer at Kabel Secondary School. So far we have in Kabel Secondary School, we have 211 registered voters. Until now, we have the people who have been verified and voted are only 37. That is represent only 17.54% of the all registered voters. So, but we are expecting more to come. We have been told, as we have said earlier, that these people around here are farmers, so most of them, they are finalizing their farming, and we're expecting them to be here between now and 4. So maybe that number will increase from there.
Thank you very much. Let's also hear from the presiding officer of one of the streams in Kabel Primary School. How many registered voters do you have? You'll start by your name and how many have come up so far.
Okay, my name is Lenny Kipsoy and I'm the PO Kabel Primary. In my station, I have 503 voters, and up to now, I've recorded 98. That is represent 20% of total number of votes who have come, and we're still expecting more number to increase.
In your station, have you witnessed any challenges? Earlier on, we were being told there are people who are coming without IDs. I don't know whether you've witnessed any challenges?
No, I think voters educators did some good work in sensitizing the masses on the need of having the basic component for voting, that is an ID. Okay.
Are there people maybe who are coming and because of the nature of work they do, maybe their fingerprints cannot be read by the KMS kit?
Yes, I experienced one person early in the morning, and that person's fingerprints were fully off. Then I used the authority of the PO to validate him. Then I never experienced another one.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Asante sana. Well, Dan and Michelle, as you've heard, as we speak right now, in one of the streams in Kabel Primary School, we have 98. Actually, I think that's the highest number we've reported of voters who've turned up in this area out of the 503 people registered to vote in that stream. On this other side, we also have another stream and 70 voters out of also 503 have only turned up. When we were speaking to UDA's Vincent Chemite while he was casting his vote, he mentioned that some of the people have turned up in some of the voting areas without IDs, and they're unable to cast their votes because of that challenge. But so far, when we were speaking to these presiding officers, they tell us they've encountered no challenges, and those people who have challenges or have their fingerprints have challenges registering with the KIEMS kit, they've been able to handle them. So far so good. We've not reported any other challenges. Security is beefed up in this area, and systems are running slowly other than the issue of voter apathy that is being witnessed across the sub-county. Dan and Michelle.
Ruth, for that update, and it's interesting data we're seeing there so far when Ruth says that out of 503 in one of the polling stations, that only 70 have cast their vote. That's about 14%. And we are just 2 hours, 27 minutes to the close of the polls, and we are still monitoring what's happening across the different places where we have the by-elections ongoing.
Well, let's take you live to Homa Bay's Kasipul constituency now, where earlier today, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission stopped candidates and their supporters from visiting polling stations in the name of protecting votes. And the directive came especially after the assault of Homa Bay Town MP Peter Kaluma and the disarming of his bodyguard during a fracas at Agoro Sare police station. Our senior anchor and reporter Ben Kitili has been covering the events in Kasipul. Ben, low voter turnout has been recorded in many of the areas where the by-elections are taking place today, but has voting resumed in Kasipul?
Good afternoon, Michelle and Dan from the Nation Center here in Kasipul. Things are a bit slow. They have been for the last couple of hours. I have a security update for you, but just basically on the voting process, the voter turnout, as has been reported throughout the day in many parts of the electoral units that are having by-elections today, the voter turnout has been slow in all the polling stations that we've visited here in Kasipul. I am back here at the Agoro Sare Primary School polling center, which has a total of 8 streams. It is one of the bigger ones. But we only had traffic in the morning hours at around 11. The streams dried up. If you can just see besides me, the doors to some of the classrooms here that are being used as streams, as polling stations, have been quite idle for some time, with the polling clerks, the IEBC staff, not having much to do because of low numbers. For around 4 hours now, it's just people streaming in very slowly. Pointing to, as happens a lot in by-elections, low voter turnout. And we also witnessed this at some other polling stations around here. We were at Kachieng Primary School. That is where the independent candidate Philip Aroko cast his vote sometime back, where again that particular polling center has 3 streams. The lines were a bit longer there, but then again they also dried up, and it is the same story of the low voter turnout. We have been trying to speak to young people here to just find out why that is. And before I give you that security update, I have with me one of the candidates that we haven't managed to talk to. She is the only female candidate in this race. Just join me. That is Jasmine Lind.
We'll be coming back to Ben Kitili when we get a chance, once we have the network challenge resolved. But Ben is quite a good storyteller. He's actually kept teasing us. I have a security update. I have a security update.
He hasn't told us yet.
And so we'll be coming back for that security update, as well as the interview with one of the candidates. There's a lady, a woman who he was meant to be speaking to before the network decided to deny us the update.
Absolutely.
But, yes.
Well, let's take you live to Ugunja now, where earlier today, again, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission called on residents to turn out in large numbers following low voter turnout recorded earlier this morning. Now, the IEBC also assured voters of adequate security in case this was a reason that many of them did not turn out. Now, voting is expected to run until 5 p.m., but so far, only about half of the registered voters have turned up. Let's now join our reporter live, Oko Okusa, live from Ugunja. He'll be joining us by way of phone. Oko, just about 3 hours to the close of polling stations. What is the turnout as we speak?
Well, Michelle, the voter turnout has been a concern here. Actually, by 11, what we were gathering is like the turnout had been about 12%. Remember, the total number of registered voters in this particular constituency is over 60,000. But at around 11 a.m., that is, we were receiving reports of just 12% voter turnout, and that has been a concern in nearly all the polling stations here. We have a total of 116 of them, and actually just a couple of them, like the one we visited called Siror, where the turnout was a bit impressive, that it was in the morning hours. But otherwise, the other polling centers and polling stations that we've been to, voters have been streaming in one after the other and not witnessing any long queues as you would have expected. Here, where we are now, is called Ugunja Town Hall, and we were here early in the morning at 6 a.m. The situation was more or less like how it is now, even though we were informed that maybe that will improve in the course of the day, but we haven't witnessed really much of that's happening. So that's a concern that even some of the aspirants have raised. Earlier we spoke with the Wiper candidate in this particular election, that is Engineer Odhiambo Orodi, who expressed his concerns regarding the turnout. Same to ODM's Moses Omondi too, who also urged voters to turn out in large numbers and participate in this exercise. Also, we managed to speak with the CS for Energy, Opio Wandai. Remember, Opio Wandai is the one who relinquished his position, occasioning this particular by-election after he was appointed as the CS for Energy in the broad-based government. Right now, I'm joined by one of the presiding officers here at Ugunja Town Hall. Maybe you can just share with us how the exercise has been so far. Please just start by introducing yourself, sir.
Good evening. My name is Evan Socheng. I am the presiding officer for Ugunja Town Hall 3. So far, so good. It's been a rather very peaceful election. We haven't encountered any event of insecurity. However, we also appreciate our returning officer for having, and the commission for having supported us with adequate security up to now.
Right.
Yes.
In terms of voter turnout, that has been a concern in nearly all the polling stations that we visited. I don't know whether here it's different.
Yeah, it's quite low. It's unexpectedly low, considering that this was an opportunity for this constituency to choose a member of the National Assembly. And as at now, this very moment at a few minutes to 3, we are at 17.4% turnout in polling station 3. You also have to take into consideration that this is a center with 3 stations. There's polling station 1, 2, and 3. But as at polling station 3, now we only have 17.4%. And considering that the day is almost coming to an end, it doesn't seem to give quite much of a higher hope of...
What's the total number of registered voters?
In polling station specifically, I have 500 registered voters.
Right.
And up to now, we only have 87 voters who've shown up.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So what is likely to happen in the coming hours? What are we going to see?
Considering that today is a working day and most people might be engaged in building the nation, we are hoping that as we near towards the close of the day, as we are nearing towards 5, businesses might close and people who are at work might come. And we are having high hope that in the next few hours we'll have a spike in numbers.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you very much, sir. Michelle Dan, that is one of the presiding officers here at Ugunja Town Hall, one of the centers which has 3 polling stations. And right now we're joined by one of the voters here, the gentleman who has just cast his ballot. Maybe unaweza tueleza tu kidogo mzee, kumekuaje? Mbona umekuja late sana?
Nilikuwa mahali lakini naona kama inaendelea vizuri sana. Ninajua hakuna mfurugano, watu hapana furutana zaidi. Hapa ni kuzuri, weather ni sawa. Ninaona kama iko sawa kabisa. Yani ninaona kama pale ya Ugunja iko utulivu zaidi. Ni hapa naona furugu, watu iko sawa, wakija wanapokelewa mzuri, wanaingia mzuri. Sioni congregation watu wakufurutana hivi na hivi, iko sawa zaidi. Mimi nimetoka kuchunga ng'ombe yangu, nakuja kupiga kura, nimepiga, hakuna mfurutano.
Asante sana mzee. Yes, thanks. Well done. That is one of the electorates here. Just trying to explain to us how he's impressed with the whole process, a lot of peace. And that particular issue of peace actually was even echoed earlier on by the CS for Energy, Opiyo Wandayi, who praised the Independent and Electoral Boundary Commission for overseeing or presiding over a process here that has been praised as one of the peaceful exercises witnessed today, considering that pockets of violence have been reported in other by-election areas like Kasipul constituency and even Malava. And of course, earlier on we also spoke with the ODM candidate, that is Moses Omondi, who downplayed reports that there could be election malpractices like voter bribery, which some candidates, one of them being the Wiper candidate, that is Odhiambo Orodi, who had claimed that some candidates were bribing voters and influencing them. But the ODM candidate, that is Moses Omondi, dismissed those allegations. So far, it's been peaceful and the process is still going on, despite the reported voter apathy. But so going forward at 5 o'clock, we expect the voting process to end. The polling stations will close their doors, paving the way for vote counting and later vote tallying at Ambira High School. That is the constituency tallying center here, Ambira High School. That is where we'll be heading to for the final process, or for the final part of this exercise that kicked off at 6 a.m. Back to you, Dan and Michelle.
Many thanks. That is Oko Okusanai for us from Ugunja, where reports from about 60,000 registered voters. There's been a constant about 12% of voter turnout in the polling stations in the region, continuing the trend of voter apathy that has been witnessed in this by-election. We'll be giving you more details of the situation across the polling stations across the country. But here with us in studio, able panelists to put into context what we are seeing today and the events that have been unfolding since this consequential morning began, the November 27th by-election. In the studio with us is Chegema Juice, the Executive Director of PNU, as well as Arnold Maliba, the party leader of the Progress Plus Alliance Party. Gentlemen, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us here on NTV.
Thank you.
What are your views, first of all, of just how, let's say with you, Chege, of how things are going? We are seeing some places have got some element of violence, unfortunately, and we are seeing claims of voter bribery or efforts to rig. In some places we are seeing, in most places from what we're seeing, a number of places we're seeing low voter turnout. What's your assessment when you look at what we have so far?
Thank you so much for having me in the studio today. And I want to greet all people of Nakuru, where I have come from. Let me say that by-election, low voter turnout is a feature of by-election. That one we expect. But violence that has been meted on the aspirants, on the citizens and agents, it has never been a feature of by-election. It has always been very peaceful. But if you look careful, you'll understand that the violence has happened in major 3 areas. That is Mbere, Malava, and Kasipul, because those are the determinants that we will verify. Is it a one-term or a two-term. When we were in high school, before we did KCSE, we used to do something called mocks, mocks exam. And the teachers will assess how the class will perform with the mocks. That's what this country will perform during 2027. If you look carefully...
I think there's no chance of things changing.
No, there's nothing will change. In fact, things might be worse. If you look at this country, even after Gen Z, there's always an air of violence that is hanging our country. It's only a trigger that is needed to trigger violence. Because if you look at Mary, you look at Malava, it started even yesterday, before even the by-election started. If you look at Kasipul, we are seeing some members of parliament bathed in blood because of the fight. They're fighting with the opponents. And that can tell you the kind of election we are going to expect 2027. It will be much worse because people are frustrated. The country is angry.
Are you saying you have no hope in peaceful elections?
No. We have hope in peaceful because we hope. The word is hope. We can hope for it. But we are 2 years, less than 2 years to the general election. What we have seen in Malava, just one election, do you think something will going to happen, to change in Mbere, in Kasipul? If you look at Kasipul, ODM is trying to stay afloat after the death of Raila Amolo Odinga. If ODM loses Kasipul, then it will just be an automatic that there will be no ODM anymore. If you go to Mbere, if President Party, UDA, wins Mbere, they will be stamping that it's a two-term. If they win Malava, it will be like, we told you. We only have an issue with a section that is read by former Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua. The others, we are united. We are going the same way. So it's a matter of life and death. In fact, I think the violence will be worse when the counting of the votes starts.
All right, we'll be looking at that and keeping a keen eye on that. But Maliba, before we get to the politics of it, and like Shege mentions, Mbere, Malava, Kasipul are not being looked at as the determinants of whether this will be one term or two term for the Kenya Kwanza administration. But let's begin with the IEBC itself, because many keep saying it's a test for the new commissioners of the IEBC. For the last 1 month, they've stood in front of the media and assured the country and the nation of peaceful, free and fair elections. Is that what you've seen today?
Literally, these elections are about three major actors. Number one, the voters. Number two, IEBC. And number three, the political actors. For the voters, because it was a by-election, it turned into a festival. That's what we've seen. It's been a bonanza. They are getting a lot of gifts. It's raining gifts. It's raining money. So we've not seen voters really move, or rather act differently than the way you would actually see, we actually would expect. The voters have moved. They've been fluid as usual. So for the voters, there's not so much to write home about. For the political actors, it means a lot. They have to test the ground. They have to look at the emerging leaders and emerging threats. They are looking at emerging trends. For political parties, I just put them together, both the politicians and political parties, it was a rerun. Because normally for an election, you never have, not a rerun, it's a dry run. For elections, you never have a dry run. A lot of times, you do not have a dry run. So these, for the political actors, was for them a serious exercise. And again, the politicians have not let us down. They've actually gone as much as you would expect. The bad manners that you would expect in our political space have actually come back. They've put in, it looks like it's a matter of life and death. See how they've actually gone out. Every political actor who's actually gone in, especially the major actors, they've really put in the best foot forward. But then there's the IEBC. IEBC is a quorate institution, therefore you expect a quorum at the apex before you expect it to be fully constituted. The Secretariat, as it were, is competent and able to take care of its work because the voting processes have not changed. There's no new legislation or any process that has actually been altered since we did the last elections. So the Secretariat is up to date with their work. Like they did the elections in 2022, you saw that they were quite efficient with that. The only problem that we will have, and that is what everybody's checking out, is actually the commissioners. The commissioners are new, so you expect that this by-election, by the way, of course, we are going to
we've had 22 elections. The other 2 did not really were not contested, and therefore those guys were declared winners. But even if you were to sum it up and talk about the 24 positions, that is just 1.27% of the entire general election, because during a general election you have got 1,882 positions that are vacant that IBC is dealing with. So if you're taking care of 24, that's slightly over 1%, 1.27%, and therefore the whole country is of course looking at them and expecting that we can have a sneak preview into how these guys can handle 2027 by looking at how they take care of this 1%. But a few things that I've actually noted since morning is that if you look at members of the Secretariat, the IEBC members of the Secretariat, when they communicate with the media, you've seen the ROs that we're talking to, they are professional, they speak to their line of communication, they do their communication quite well. But I've looked at specifically 2 members of the commission, the chairperson, Evekon, and then Dr. Lutalala. At least those ones have been very vocal. I saw the chair the other day, is quoted by The Nation, asked a question about bribery and everything else, and the chairman, who should be an arbiter, said there is no voter bribery. You know, the people that are complaining primarily have to start by lodging their complaints with IEBC. So how am I going to go to a chair? I'm alleging voter bribery, but the chair has already stated as a matter of fact that there is no voter bribery, and he's quoted. That in and of itself, you know, the processes, systems, and how everything is run in the elections is not in dispute. We know how that is run. It is small, nuanced communications that actually create a perception. Because for the IEBC, largely the commissioners, it's about perception. They are supposed to give us confidence that we can trust them in 2027 in this 1.27% that they are handling. So when you find the chairperson, for example, you have been asked a question by a journalist and you say there is no voter bribery. So how are those that are alleging supposed to come to you when you already have declared that? That for me, I think, and I've also seen Dr. Lutalala again making statements that I felt were a little bit uncommissionary, if that is the word, that word does not exist. So one of those takeaways, because again, when you're doing a dry run, is that you get the gaps and you take care of it. One of the things that I would propose to Marjan and the Secretariat is to quickly take the commissioners for public communication training afresh. Those guys might actually be who they are. And again, the problem is that they are old guys and it's difficult to teach old dogs new tricks. But for public communication's sake and knowing that they are IEBC, you do not take the risks that they are doing, because those small statements will really cause problems. So for me, I think IBC needs to appear like they're in control, not any other person. So when IBC sounds like there is another supplementary, there's an auxiliary voice over and above them, everything we're talking about here, IBC should be the final voice. When we talk about election, or rather the process today, IBC should be the final voice, but they should also communicate in a way that inspires confidence.
So let me just, I don't know, I'm playing devil's advocate or what. What if, for instance, because I also interviewed the chairman the other night, and in the interview, the response he was giving me was just based on whatever information he has, like no one has lodged complaints, etc. So there was that rider, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's the same one from what you're quoting.
Yes.
So could it be, and maybe it would be a communication thing, could it be that he was responding based on the information he has, or that so far we have no confirmed etc.
The response done should be that we have had, because the truth is that IBC also has got a presence on social media. They also watch the media, they've got media monitoring. So you cannot say that since no one has actually showed up at the office and lodged, that you have not seen cases of people talking about voter bribery. And let me just quickly talk about this. The media has actually shown places where there is voter bribery, or instances that will actually be voter bribery. Social media is awash with videos. So he will actually have reacted or responded in a way that actually leaves room for any other person that will come in, without him saying that there is no voter bribery. You know, he will rather say that probably we have observed or we have not received, but in case there is, or even run with the political statement that we will actually institute an inquiry or an investigation into that. That actually...
Don't give it finality.
Because if he gives it finality, then if I have got a problem, how am I going to go there? I'll give you examples that you need to look at. We have seen on video people receiving mattresses, receiving relief food. That is treatment of voters, because all of us, including journalists, when you are going to cover, anyone who has access to the polling center or the tallying, or even if the tallying center, all of you sign the electoral code of conduct. And the electoral code of conduct speaks about how, specifically it cites issues in the Elections Offences Act. So he needs to actually leave room so that then we can also execute the challenges we have seen when it's necessary, because again, we are busy campaigning. I have seen an offense. So do I stop campaigning as a politician and then go report first of all, or do I finish with the campaigning and then lodge that? Because people will be going to court after that. So this one, I actually have to say it almost as an authority, because I have worked in the communication space for a while. Marjan and his team must train the commissioners on public communication, because go back and just review the statements as done by the chairperson and Dr. Lutalala. Those statements, if they can actually be, and they are dealing with politicians know how to twist these things. So they can easily twist those things. And IBC, especially the commission, is a graveyard of careers. Right. We do not want them to also follow the same route the others have gone. When you see, for example, a public officer like the PCS, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, in a rally, forcing a voter to read a letter of appointment. That is treating a voter. Leave alone the fact that this guy was also an aspirant. That is voter treatment. Okay. So when IBC says that we have not seen, and there is no, not that we have not seen, there is no, that really for me is worrying. Yeah. And the statements like in Magarini earlier on, I saw Dr. Lutalala saying, no, there's no such thing. As in, we are supposed to come and report to you that this is what is happening. Once you have already said there is none, so why am I coming to you? That particular bit, for IBC, we cannot be any soft. I'm sorry. Because this by-election could be their first and last election. In this country, we are unforgiving when it comes to IBC. The EMB must be above board.
All right. And I think, I mean, looking at the amount of personnel that IBC is dealing with this election, for the chairperson to come and say we have not heard, then would raise serious questions. So, I mean, based on that, Shege, everything in this by-election, which is why it's so consequential, is that everything from the polling stations to the opening of the polling stations to the working of the KIEMS kit will be used as a benchmark for 2027 preparedness. So, borrowing from Arnold, what are some of the things you've noted that you feel IBC needs to work on ahead of 2027?
You see, the problem is we might not learn anything from what will happen. I'm saying that because you see the kind of temperature that we have, both sides accusing each other. Are we together? So if today I lose as a person, I will accuse the IBC. The other side will praise the IBC for having a transparent or kind of an election. So we have the two opposing sides. Each side, they don't care how they are going to make it. As long as if they make it, IBC will be transparent and it will have done an accountable election. The person who wins will praise the IBC. The person who will lose will have to castigate
You're
the
saying
IBC.
even if the IBC do what Maliba is giving them free consultancy in terms of train your, we will still have people saying that was not credible.
Yes, even if they do the training and they do a very good job,
but I feel
they will
that's the job
still
of
be
a
said the same thing. You know, we have been having this narrative since 2013. It's 2007. Each person, each side that loses, IBC was bribed, it was not prepared, it was not. We have gone that road before. So there's nothing we are looking at.
We've already seen Paul discrediting this IBC, saying it is Ruto's IBC, for instance.
So whoever is saying Ruto's IBC, if today an opposition wins, you will see them saying it was transparent and accountable. If they lose...
So we monitor Kalonzo Musyoka, for instance.
Yes. It started yesterday with the former deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua, saying that already it is these people have sided with the government side. But today I have looked, he has not posted anything. I saw J.B. Moturi, former CS, had posted in the morning that he casted his vote and the process was free, and fair and transparent when he was casting. But after an hour, I saw the same guy fighting with a Gen-Z in Bere in a in a trench somewhere that they had came to bribe something. So what I'm telling you is that whichever side that wins, whichever side will be favored, will call the process free and fair. Let me tell you, the people who are elected through the IEBC commission, let's call a spade a spade. In most cases, somehow they were politically influenced. Somehow they were politically influenced. I remember a case scenario whereby the IG of police was criticized by even the Law Society of Kenya the other day when he went to a political rally where in Nyeri, where the president was going to tell the mountain, you know what, it is not true that I have sidelined your sons. This is one of your sons in a political rally. And he was there, and he should not attend a political what? A political rally. So when we are saying these things, our institutions are not yet free. We are still being influenced by the executive to a certain degree, which influences our election. And that's why you're saying any person who is opposition will always castigate the government because they think somehow the tides will go along with how the government will be going. So, yes.
So, again, let me just see, like when the IG, his argument had been,
yes,
or the argument of under the executive,
yes,
that he was there because it's a presidential event. He was going to, he's the highest ranking officer, so he needed to be there. So, is it wrong for him to be at the event, or is it wrong for him to address the crowd in a way that is seemingly political?
You see, where does he come from?
No, if he's going to, in principle, before we go to where he comes from, in principle, is it wrong for the IG to attend a political event?
No, it is not wrong for IG to attend a political event, but it's wrong for him to go and address a political event. For political events,
so he might have been.
Yes,
he was given an alishikisho handball. The president.
Alishikisho handball. For political events, leave them to politicians. He will just come and ensure that the security is done. And even at that time, the narrative was, IG Kanja is your son, here from Nyeri. You know the narrative that was there from the president. Yeah. So people coming and telling you, your former deputy president, who comes from Nyeri, telling you that I chased all your sons from the government, it's not true. This is one of your sons. So we are looking at the context from which the whole event was happening. So it was malicious, it was biased from that angle. So that's what I'm saying. Whichever way IBC are going to conduct the elections today, we are not going to learn anything because the noise after tomorrow will be so much for us to pick anything or a lesson from the ongoing by-elections.
Maliba, you look like you're ready to pounce.
Not really. I'm like, I know what Chege is saying. Chege says that a lot of times we don't learn any lessons because a lot of the things that are happening, we should actually have corrected them a long time ago. We shouldn't be talking about some of these things from 2013 when we did the first election under the new constitution. I do not think that the IG alishikisho handball. He was used as a prop and he knew why he was there. Because again, let's just be real. The IG is not the head of the presidential security team. He's not even a specialist in that particular area. So there was no value he was going to add in. The president goes around. I'm just wondering, then if, for example, the nation is having a road show from where you come from, of what value is it for the nation to actually present you on the ground? Must you go on the ground? Unless it's political, there must be some bonga points. There must be some premium they actually want to get out of it. So I think continuously for IBC, these, unlike Chege who has lost hope on this, the one thing I know is that if you look at the country today, our country is very angry. That's the one thing what is the reason that people are fighting in Kasipul, for example? Because how it started, if you look at the footage, Honorable Kaluma is having a chat with Aroko. They are moving on very well. Boys show up, they rough them up, and it ends up going very south. So literally, again, look at what is happening in Malaba the whole night. We've actually been treated to drama. Already even as we speak, I know the media is actually very cold on this, but we've seen reports of dead bodies. At least, there is at least one that has been going around. We've seen even the aspirant and his party leader going to a morgue and standing to a body or next to a body. As in these things, as we continue, we cannot actually take it light because unfortunately, Chege and I are practicing politicians. And I will tell you this, people use midterm as a way of preparedness. It's a knife sharpening process. So everybody else looking at how either side has actually behaved prepares for it, so that then you are not found unawares. So that then you do not get to 2027 and tell people, if we had known what they would do, then we would have prepared better. So if you see what is happening, see vehicles being banned in Malaba, there's too much fighting, guns being taken out. The voter turnout is so low, but the politicians have not left. The tempo for politics has actually remained the same. So I just do not want us to use the word hope, because hope is not a strategy.
All right.
Unfortunately, because for governance, we have to use, it's an evidence-based approach. So evidence is that we are collecting data from what is happening now, and it informs the next course of action, so that then it reflects in how we do things going forward. So that we just don't talk about, the reason why I'm actually being very unforgiving to every duty bearer is because I hope they are picking lessons, and that it informs how they then do the next thing, or how they prepare, without which we have actually been on the cliff before as a country. So let us not really we cannot operate like we can actually get on an autopilot. We cannot get to 2027 on a mentality of autopilot. We either have got all hands on deck, or we are headed straight to the sea.
When we began, Maliba, you said one thing, that this election is about three different parties, IEBC, the stakeholders, and the people themselves. You look at by-elections, while
political actors.
Well, political actors, yes. Yeah. So when you look at by-elections, well, low voter turnout may essentially be a feature of by-elections. It's also easier for tokenism, for vote buying, because of the low voter turnout. But why do we keep seeing this tokenism? Because it's almost willing buyer, willing seller. The citizens are taking these tokens. So where do the people, what role do the people play in this by-election in shaping what we expect in 2027?
I have said this before, and because I'm not on a ballot during this by-election, I'll actually just say it. The biggest problem with our democracy is not the politicians. It's not even what people call the system. It's actually the voter. It's actually time we stopped excusing the voter for the bad leadership that we have. And I'm actually going to be very cold. Somebody said this, I can't remember the person is, and is a person from the West who said that if you import third world, you become third world. That third world countries are where they are because of their people. It's partly true, partly not true. But the bad manners that we have in our electoral system are largely seeded by the people. The people are the enablers, and we must actually call out the people and tell them they are not victims. Because have you seen, just in 2023, we saw people, months after an election, people in the streets with sufurias and everything else, right?
Yes.
A lot of people died. We've not even accounted for the people who died in 2023. I'm not talking about 2024. Again, in 2024, people were out there complaining. People stormed Parliament, saying that Parliament no longer represents them. It doesn't have a voice. Today, about 6 constituencies had a chance to correct the mistake they did in 2022. Have they really acted differently? Definitely no. They've gone back to doing business as usual. And is it really impossible for the people to change? That is again another lie. The people can do differently. So until we remind the people that they are the sovereigns, and that everything, you know, Majuis and I can come here eloquently with a lot of tact and have all conversations about the state of the nation. But the real decider is that particular voter in a polling station down there. It is about the people. They are the sovereigns. Wherever we want to go, the president can sing about taking us to Singapore, Malaysia, first world, or whatever he wants to. If the people of Kenya do not want to go to the first world, he will not get us there. That's just how strong or how imperative the place of the people is.
But
in
you
an
feel
electoral
the
process.
people have actually, what do I say, have actually internalized that power that they have, because it seems that the political actors are denying the people the chance to really acknowledge the power they have.
No, I do not believe in that. You see, I'll tell you this. A lot of times, and I say that I think a couple of days here, a lot of times people think that politicians ni wakora. Let me use the street language. Kuwa wanasiasa ni wakora na wakorofi. In an electoral system, in an electoral process, hakuna mtu mkora na mkorofi kama voter. The same people you find putting on UDA Once you leave, they recap, put on DAPK, and they will clap for you, get your money, and still vote their Madogodanio. And immediately after that, they know their problems so well, by the way. If you were to ask Kenyans about their problems, they know it, and they will tell you where the challenge is. So the people of Kenya are not stupid. The problem is that the political culture that we have, and we can blame it for so many things. We're going to talk about we've been impoverished, so what can we do? Look at this. You saw people being given mattresses and everything else. Was anybody being told to sign somewhere that as you pick this mattress, you must vote somewhere? Again, voters wanaweza kukula pesa yako when they want and not vote for you. So it's not that they do not have the agency to make the proper decision. It's just that we have got a terrible political culture and we need to outgrow it. If we do not outgrow it as a people, we can blame politicians all we want. Every time people have wanted to choose a better leader, they have.
All right. I mean, just speaking on that, just a few minutes ago, we had the IBC Commissioner Hassan Nur Hassan speaking at a Mole Primary School, which is in Banisa constituency, Mandara County. This is perhaps one of the constituencies benefiting the most from this by-election, having waited over 32 months. Ideally, right? But the IBC Commissioner says the exercise has recorded less than 30% voter turnout, and he says that's because of the current dry spell. Majority of locals have since migrated with their livestock and in search of water and pasture. So for constituencies that ideally, again, should be benefiting a lot from this by-election, how important was this for the people, so that they did not prioritize being there for this election?
Again, let me not cast aspersions, but I'm not sure where he even gets the number 30%. Of course, they have got access to data, but we've seen a running figure of about 17 to 25%. Of course, 30%, less than 30% is a good estimate, but that is pushing it to almost a third. It has got what it communicates. But this is it. In a general election, there is a multi-interest polling process. So some people show up to vote for the president, but at the end of the day, they will be given the ballot for the governor, the senator, and everybody else. Somebody else shows up specifically because his interest is in voting for the governor, or that is the person that appealed to him most. But he will be given the ballot paper for the president and everybody else. So, and again, in a general election, we have got an elaborate way of how we handle it. The whole country stops. The whole country grinds to a halt. How many people, for example, will be able to ask for permission to work? For example, if you come from Banisa and you are in Nairobi, if you are to approach a Muhindi somewhere that you work for and tell him, I want to go and vote, there is no enabling or something compelling employer, for example, to let you go if he has got production deadlines to actually run with. If you are traveling elsewhere, it's not even a holiday, quote unquote. I know we wouldn't have something like a partial holiday in those areas, but I'm just saying, besides the interests that actually come with a general election, then also by-elections are such that they are not, we do not plan for by-elections. There are contingencies that happen along the way. So there is that particular bit. But you realize that politicians do their best to show up. Have you realized that for politicians, the way they show up, full, they don't show up halfway because there could be lesser numbers. Those are the people who know exactly what a by-election, or rather what an election process is. And for IBC, again, I would insist that for them, this is a very important process. I'm thinking in order of priority, IBC should prioritize this because this is their core business. They have got an opportunity to actually run a simulation ahead of a major undertaking that is coming in 2027. But if you were to look at how things have turned around, the violence that we have seen, Michelle, all of us should actually treat this as an early warning. Like I've actually said, what really was at stake in Malava to actually see the kind of violence we've witnessed? What was in Kasipul that we will see a member of parliament? And by the way, this one is a side comment. I think VIP protection is overestimated. The way Honorable Kaluma has actually been manhandled, why should we have VIP protection being so strong during peace and then when you really need them, they are not there? I think also VIPs also need to actually go back. A lot of them have got their relatives, your nephew, whatever. Those are the people you bring around to protect you. But I think since we pay for it as the public. They should actually get serious people to actually protect them. Otherwise, when, I don't know whether Majuis, you checked out on how Kaluma went down. That for me is unforgivable, especially for the team that was protecting him. They failed in their job. Let's not talk, because, you know, and even the guys that were attacking wasn't a big mob. It was a very small team that could actually have been handled by his team effectively. Kaluma's team failed.
Okay.
And that speaks to so many other things. Anyway.
Sorry, I just want to catch you before I let my juice come in as well. We also have, you know, some polls happening in the county of Machakos at Momboni, and Momboni North, I should say. And we have our reporter electing Odera, who is on the ground and is going to give us an update, because there has been claims of voter bribery. The former MCA has actually been drafted up. We're seeing that. Electing, good afternoon. How is the situation there right now in Momboni?
Good afternoon, Dan. Right now, the queues that we were witnessing in the morning, long queues of voters streaming in at different polling stations in Momboni North, have actually, the numbers are dwindling each and every time, because now we are approaching, as we approach the close of the voting exercise. But at this particular station here at Kasinga Primary School, where I am exactly, one of the key polling stations here, the center had recorded a significant number of voters who were streaming in to cast their ballots down. The atmosphere was also busy, as I had indicated, even queues snacking across different polling stations, but now the numbers have dwindled. And also, the day has just progressed well. Right now, only a handful of voters are just trickling in, raising questions about whether maybe this could be a case of voter apathy, or simply residents choosing to vote early and return home. Another key thing that I could highlight is that security officers here have remained on site, just trying to keep watch as the exercise continues. And even we had an opportunity to talk to Machakos Police County Commander Monica Kimani, who said that the process has been largely smooth, and they are ensuring that they prevent any case of malpractice that could happen here, and warning that those planning to engage in malpractice when it comes to voter bribery, they'll be held culpable. But early in the morning at around 11 a.m., Maendeleo Chap leader, that is CS Mutua, Alf Mutua, he was here at around 11 a.m. just accompanying his candidate, that is Harrison Wambua, to cast his vote, and he did that. But the moment he had finished, he started addressing the media some meters away from the polling station. But agitated youth and even voters who are just within this polling station for Kasinga Primary School, he was chased away by youth here. And so they are doing that just to try and prevent any case of maybe voter bribery in this area. And also remember that this is the only by-election happening in Ukambani, meaning that the total number of voters, that is 13,760 something here. Total of 11 candidates are trying to square it out of this total number of registered voters here. So, but the contest here seems to be between two candidates, Maendeleo Chap, that is Harrison Wambua, and Wiper's candidate, Anthony Kisoi. So as the voting exercise continues, we are just waiting to see how the exercise concludes, and then now we'll be heading to Mumbuni Girls, yes, where the ward's official tallying center, where the tallying process will be happening. So we're just keeping watch here, trying to see how the exercise turns out. But actually, for now, I would say the number of voters streaming in or coming in to cast their ballot has drastically reduced. And as I had mentioned, that other candidates that are vying for this seat or contesting for this seat, we have UDA candidate who is Missy Mutua, and we'll also have another candidate. Missy Mutua is contesting on UDA, and we also have Richard Nzioki, who is contesting on CCU. And those are some of the candidates that are just battling it out in this contest. Also, in the morning, former MCA, as you had mentioned earlier, that is Paul Museku. He had come to the polling station, but some of the voters suspected maybe he was trying to bribe some voters here, but he was roughed up by youth here, and he was forced to seek for his security and run away. So that is how the situation is panning out here. We are just waiting as the exercise concludes, and then we head to Mumbuni Girls now for the official tallying, for the official tallying center for Mumbuni North Ward.
Electine, for that update, just giving us context, and even what we are seeing on the screen right now is some earlier footage from Mumbuni where we had some fracas, a bit of fracas, and we've also seen, like Shia said, the CS spoke to the media, as well as we had one of the police who was speaking there. And let's actually listen to what the police officer had to say.
Patrols that are ongoing hata nje ya vituo, and we don't anticipate any trouble. Na just in case kuna mtu ana nia ya kuleta vurugu, we assure wananchi tutadili na yeye.
Mimi ni mkazi wa Machakos County, Mumbuni North. Leo tumekuja kupiga kura, tuchague MCA. Tumekaa miaka miwili bila MCA, tumefurahi sana. Kura inaendelea vizuri, kila mtu anaendelea vizuri, kumetuliza.
Tunawatakia laheri kila mtu, mpige kura kwa amani vile mnaendelea.
Sisi ni watu wa amani hapa Mumbuni. Wananchi tunawahimiza mkuje mpige kura kwa amani. Askari weko hapa, polisi, security iko tight vizuri, hakuna wasiwasi wowote. Kuna watu kadhaa wamejaribu kupeana pesa leo asubuhi. Kuna hata waheshimiwa wengine wanaofanya kazi kwa serikali ya Wiper hapa ya Governor Wavinya Ndeti, na hao wananchi wameweza kuwakamata.
Well, that's CS Alfred Mutua. Guys, I'm wondering, is he doing anything wrong in terms of CSS being involved in politics?
There was a ruling, of course, that exempted CSS, but all of us know that totally you cannot have a person serving in this administration and is busy fighting with people over Maendeleo Chap in Mumbuni. How do you expect him to actually even be partial if you show up in his office and you are his opponent down here?
We've seen that in Mbeere North as well.
That's what I'm actually saying. How do you expect Mudavadi, for example, to treat you differently if you show up in his office as a PCS and you are opposing him in Malava, for example? How do you expect Ruku, whom I've actually seen, there's a clip online, CS Ruku, telling people, mukitaka kuchagua position, but chagueni position. So, as in, it is wrong. I disagree with that ruling. We would rather stick with the old thinking that we had chosen with the Constitution in 2010, that CSS should stay away from this. Once you choose to go this route, you keep quiet until you then are no longer CS.
There's what's happening, even as we talk about the violence and the pockets of chaos that have been witnessed in the different by-elections. And even as many say that this may look like IEBC isn't prepared, just earlier today, the Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna condemned the pockets of chaos that have been witnessed. In fact, he's called this one of the bloodiest election days in recent history. But Sifuna goes ahead to point out the violence in Kabuchai, in Malava in Kasipul. And it says it is either a breakdown in security command, and remember security officials have been again on national media for the last 1 month assuring Kenyans that there will be security for these by-elections. So he says it is either a breakdown in security or active participation by state officers in orchestrating the chaos witnessed today. Majus, let's start with you. I mean, the chaos that we saw in Malava today with the DAPK candidate Seth Panyako and the UDA candidate. I mean, even at some point saw Seth Panyako saying, you know, I mean, if this is how it is, wacha serikali ichukue yote basi. What do you make of the, the speculation that this is either a breakdown in security or an orchestration of the state to see this?
There's no breakdown security. You know, we get leaders who we are. Those leaders you see, we are the ones who elect them. We get leaders who we are as good as we are. I get a leader who is good as me. And again, anyone complaining, the bread is not butter on their side. You have not seen the UDA candidate in Malava complaining. Because the people who are being beaten are his opponents. He does not care about a fair and accountable process. Because the bread is being buttered on his side. If you get his views now, he will say that the process is going very well. And the reason why his competitor is complaining is because he's taking an earlier lead. That is the problem of this country. Let me ask you, Mogi. Have you ever seen chaos in Runda? Do you have polling stations there? Do you have polling stations in Kireleshwa? Why don't you have chaos there? Because let me tell you, it's another issue of economic liberation. Because I'm given 500 shillings to take life of another Kenyan just because of a single day, an event. Are you together? So most of these people, you are saying that the voters should not take the bribery. Some of these people maybe have stayed 3 days without having anything to eat.
Let me just push back a bit. When you say that we get the leaders we deserve, and I've heard that being said, or you're saying the leaders reflect who we are, etc.
Yeah.
There's someone who went and voted.
Yes.
And it was based on what Chege Majuis sold to them.
Yes.
Then after you get into power, you change. How is that who I am?
Most of those leaders, and I want you to go.
You get, because we are seeing many people even today complaining about the leaders they voted. They said, and we've had those especially who are like against the president, saying that we voted for him because he promised ABCD, and to some extent he had kind of exhibited those kind of characteristics. But now what we are seeing is different. So do you really say, are we saying that Kenyans are the way they are seeing?
No, what they are not telling you is that for them to attend those rallies, they were bribed to attend the rallies. Leave alone what you had the president promising them. For them to attend the rally, they were bribed to attend the rally. Some of them, they had to be paid bus fares, to be given 2,000 shopping to attend those rallies. So it's not about what the president said, promised them. It's about what they had already taken into their pockets.
Are you saying everyone who voted, all 6-point-something million Kenyans?
No, majority of Kenyans, you can even say 70% majority of Kenyans right now. Even if you go to my village right now with a Prado, they don't care if you are a priest or a banker or somebody. They just come around your vehicle and tell you, hatuko wengi, tuko watano tu. Because nowadays, even the Prados, they're being associated with politicians. And whenever politicians come to your area, there's no one can tell a politician that maybe our hospital is not working. We don't have a laboratory in our nearby school. They should tell them, Mheshimiwa, situache zama. And it's happening all over the country. That is the reality. Tunaweza kuwa tunasema tu we need a good country, but Kenya is a good country on paper. Writing about Kenya on paper is a very good country.
But don't you think the political class is spearheading that agenda to make sure it remains that way for their own good?
I'm telling you, it's not the political class. It's who we are as a country. We have to accept that sisi ndio tunachangia hii mambo yote.
When we talk about electoral reforms,
yes,
and we say IEBC and we say ESCC, what reforms do we need at the society level for the people themselves?
We usually say that an electoral offense is that a voter bribery is an electoral offense. That I as a politician, if I bribe a voter, it's an electoral offense. But also a voter who accepts the bribery, it's also an offense. But we're looking on the politician side, that politicians are the people who are bribing the voters. The voters are all taking the bribes. That's where we start, both ends. Because if a politician comes and people say we are not going to accept those bribes from you, do you think there will be chaos? There will be no chaos. You have said in Banisa, people are not even coming out to vote. You have said that, right? Around that % or something like that. There is a trend from the last election, 2022. Over 8 million Kenyans did not even vote. They did not come out to vote, 8 million Kenyans. The other day we had IEBC had opened for young people, the Gen Z, to register for voters. Most of them did not, because Kenyans are reaching a stage like, why am I voting? I have voted 5 times. Nothing is changing. We have come even with the new constitution. You have said Orengo, some of the oldest politicians in this country who have fought for reforms, saying that we are even becoming worse than Mlolongo times. When there was no constitution, people used to just kupanga line and be people uncounted. We are becoming worse as we think we are reforming this country, and even those electoral reforms. So what I'm saying is that if Kenyans want to change, as my friend Arnold said, we need to change as a people. Because there's no way you expect anything to change if I know I can change the rules of the game by the money that I have, because they will act as the power and influence on the ground.
So, Majus, let me tell you where my concern is.
Yes.
And it's fortunate or unfortunate that I'm a stickler for numbers and data and facts. Yes. And I mean, I began this journalism thing on the business desk, where it's not like the politics where we say many people went for this event. When we say William Ruto got about 7 million votes, yes, and you say we got that because of bribery, yes, how many of those people were bribed?
Majority were bribed.
Based on what? So you're saying 7 million, he got to bribe 7 million people?
You can't bribe 7 million people, but you know there are people who usually follow the influence of the others. Wanafuata wale wengine. Because you just bribe the, what do you call them? The influencers. The influencers in the village. People who can influence the others. We used to see a lot of people going to Karen during that time when he was the deputy president. Every Tuesday, pastors used to go every Tuesday. Influencers, retired head teachers who are respected in the villages used to go to Karen every Tuesday.
So they were taking bribes on behalf of their followers?
No, you take 100,000 and you go and tell them, I've heard what the deputy president has said, and let me tell you, bottom up is a perfect concept. All of us, we are going up from bottom. You understand? So that is the problem I'm telling you. Even if, all the people who are fighting in Malava, let me tell you the truth. There's no one who is fighting and has not been instructed or given bribes. No one is fighting for a cause. They are fighting for stomachs.
It's a big conversation, because just earlier today, this year, Governor James Orengo as well, referring to what he terms as militarization and goonism of the current elections, even at the scale of a by-election. In just a few moments, we'll be going live to Mbeere North, where Ibrahim Karanja will be reporting about alleged vehicles that have been caught with alleged goons in them. Maliba, what's your take on this entire goonification, as has been termed by SAB, even in the wake especially of security officers assuring Kenyans of security?
So let me just read exactly what Orengo said.
Right.
What he posted. He said, we can't be first world. Remember, the president has been pushing for
Singapore.
The first worldification of Kenya. He says, we can't be first world if, years after Constitution 2010, we can't hold peaceful and fair elections. The militarization and goonification of elections is an evil worse than Mlolongo. The East African neighborhood is becoming, or has been, extremely intolerant and despotic. That's what Orengo said earlier today.
You know why we should be worried about this? And I started with the reason why I actually wanted to look at the numbers of the by-elections vis-a-vis what IBC will be handling in 2027 is because it's a very small number. 24 by-elections. You can actually do away with the 2 that got direct nominations. But let's just say 24 of them. I say it is 1.27% of what IBC will be handling in 2027. Now, if you check online, you realize that we have had serious incidents in 10 out of 24. Serious aggravated incidents in 10 out of 24. So remember, they are handling just 1.27% of what they will be handling in 2027. And out of this 1.27%, we have got a whopping 41% with serious incidents. Now, in a general election, if you are going to have 40% of the nation with a breakdown, remember that IBC will actually be strained of resources and personnel. The police service that actually give them security will actually be strained. Literally everybody's hands will be tied up to something. There is nothing to actually be happy about this. If you were to look at the incidents alone as an indicator on where we are going, they're talking about 40% serious incidents. When you have got 40% of the country breaking down, we will not have a country after the general election. 20%, even the police cannot hold it. So they are taking care of 1%, and up to 40% had a proper breakdown. We're talking about incidents reported, serious incidents that forced people, including electoral officers, hiding under tables. That is actually a damning report, whatever way you look at it. So if you're going to look at this by-election as it were, IBC's preparation with 40%, I don't know how then do we grade them, looking at 40% of these places had serious incidents. Look at Malava, that is the poster boy of bad manners that was there today. Then the people in Kasipul said, then you have to hold my beer, you guys cannot beat us at it. And they had just to force it at some point. People had to leave, or rather, including banning people from staying around in the name of waiting for votes, and including those other agents staying around. You've seen the same. Incidentally, Nairobi, and of all the places, Eastlands, has actually remained very, very, very peaceful. So I think huwa tunaonewa sisi watu wa Nairobi as because it's Bangu of all the places, it's Kariobangi, and nothing has happened so far. It's been handled so well. But I'm telling you, if you have got 10 out of 24, that is about 41%. That is not a good score. Especially if you look at Kenya. I want you to look at 40% of Kenya going down. Remember Nairobi, every time Nairobi goes down, the rest of the country is actually paralyzed. So now try to think about 40% breakdown, because that is what the statistics say. There is no other way of looking at it. On this, IBC does not have, well, IBC and their friends in Interior do not have a good way to actually come to us and convince us that they really were prepared. And remember, this is a by-election after 2 years.
Right. And just before you come in,
Chege Majuis had spoken about how we move on and how we actually try to plan. There's something else that he probably did not want to look at deliberately. And I want to focus. I know he has got a candidate. And for obvious reasons, he's beating everybody except his candidate.
Yes.
But I want to begin from where his candidate is. There's something that is happening. Like I said, everybody else is testing, except the voter. Unfortunately, the three main pillars, or rather the three main actors in this electoral process, only the voter hasn't taken this one seriously. You know how sad it is that what should be the determinant has not taken this electoral process seriously. The voter has not taken this seriously. Look at how political actors have come out full force. Look at IBC, they've really tried to do their best. Now, there's something in the political actors that has been happening deliberately. If you realize is that the Kenya Kwanza army, or rather within the broad-based, the intra-broad-based politics, there is a deliberate attempt to Nyanzanize ODM. And I'm talking about Luo Nyanzanize ODM. Because ODM struggled to get candidates in Kisii. Remember, Kisii is in Nyanza. ODM could not get candidates on the ballot. Ordinarily, Raila would get the highest number of presidential votes in Kisii. ODM couldn't get there. And even in Kasipul, for example, there were mamas, not even mamas, quarrels, loud ones, that a part of UDA or some UDA actors were fighting the ODM candidate. We saw that. We saw the same mamas in Ugunja. But the most interesting part is actually in Turkana, where the governor is ODM. But ODM has no candidate of note for a county assembly. You know, governors are so serious when it comes to how the county assembly will look like. But ODM has nothing to write home about when it comes to the candidates. Because what happened is that the UDA candidates in Turkana, for the two wards, I think Lake Zone and Nanam or Namam, were actually initially ODM guys who simply were sent to UDA. You realize that ODM normally has got a very good presence in Turkana. If there's one of those things that has actually happened in this election is that ODM has systematically been pushed to the corner where you guys just need to take care of Nyanza alone, because look at Magarini, for example.
Just before you come in, Maliba, let's take a look at what's happening in Kariobangi North. And you speak about ODM there. I mean, the by-election in Kariobangi North Ward has recorded low turnout since morning, but the ODM candidate earlier today, Michael Majua, said that since today is a Thursday and is a weekday, many voters had gone to work and would be casting their ballots later in the evening. So let's bring in our reporter, Victor Ngaruya, live from Kariobangi North. Ngaruya, it's just about 1 hour, 12 minutes to the close of polling stations. What is the voter turnout looking like this afternoon?
Right here at Kariobangi North Ward, Embakasi North Constituency, Nairobi County, where we have been monitoring the ongoing by-election. The voter turnout said has remained notably low compared to the 24,500 registered voters in this area. What has stood out quite ironically is that many residents have opted to camp outside the polling stations, seemingly waiting to greet the candidates as they come in to vote, rather than walking in and casting their ballots, in particular at the Marura Primary School polling center. In the past, during elections, this area has been known for tensions and incidents of violence, but today a rare calm has been witnessed since morning, with police officers maintaining patrol across all polling stations. Among the front runners in this contest, according to many, are Michael Ouma Majua of the ODM party, David Wanyoike Waroe of DCP, and Julius Mainanjoka of UDA, a former MCA who is looking to come back, standing among 16 candidates vying the Kariobangi North Ward seat. Some of the contenders have, however, raised serious allegations today of voter bribery and the involvement of hired goons to intimidate voters, suggesting that the low turnout is because of that intimidation. I am following up on this, Michelle, and I will keep on updating you on what is taking place. Back to the studio.
Many thanks. That is Victor Ngaruya keeping an eye on the by-election there in Kariobangi North Ward. So far, low voter turnout recorded in that region as well. But let's sort of get back to the conversation on security, the goonism and the militarization of these elections, as has been mentioned by many political players, as Maliba calls them. I cut you off, Maliba, but I mean, the goons that we talk about, the citizens, you know, they're everyday voter like you and me. Why do they take part in this?
Actually, the kind of violence we saw today was violence driven by a few people that, like the ones you will see in the streets in 2023. There was a new type of violence in 2024. Those people have not taken part in this election. And that, in and of itself, should worry us. Because in 2024, they might participate, not necessarily because I saw Chege here say that they have not registered as voters, but they might demonstrate by way of just showing up in the streets, like happened in Tanzania, where I am not going to vote, but I'll show up to demonstrate on the elections day. And that is why, for me, I still insist that 10 out of 24, having serious incidents where people are bleeding, there is fight, people are raiding the polling centers and stations and the tallying centers and whatever, and that people are fighting. If you have got 40%, register 40%. Of course, the Interior Ministry failed terribly, because I don't know whether you can actually appreciate. I want you to, or rather to try and appreciate what 40% of Kenya means. There is no security agency in this country that can take care of that. None. At 40% breakdown, there is no security agency. Even if you were to combine all the agencies, you will not be able to rein in the country at 40%.
You're also making the assumption that when you extrapolate from the 40% or 41, 42% that we're seeing today, that the stakes will be as high even at a national level.
Of course, in a general election, the stakes are much higher because in
each of these.
That's what I'm saying. If we use this, and by the way, it's only in central Kenya region that there is no by-election. Otherwise, there is a by-election all over. No,
Mbeere.
that is not central Kenya. That is eastern. I probably.
From eastern.
Probably you did CBC.
No.
I'll just remind you that in coast there is Magarini. In eastern there is what is in Machakos. We have been to Mumbuni. There is what is in Mount Kenya East. Mount Kenya East is in eastern.
Okay.
Just before you forget, and Embu used to be their capital, their provincial headquarters.
Yes.
So eastern. So we have got elections in eastern. We have got elections in Nairobi, Kariobangi. We have got elections in Rift Valley, the two wards plus Baringo. We have got 2 elections in Nyanza. Then we have got elections in Western. Which one has been left out? Only Central Kenya, the traditional Central Kenya region. I'm not talking about Mount Kenya. Sometimes we mix Mount Kenya and Central. Mount Kenya is not Central.
No, my understanding was you're saying the Mount Kenya.
No. I said Central region.
Okay.
Yeah. So generally, IBC has a feel of all the country. All the country. They have got their personnel today handling an election in all the regions, except Central Kenya. And Kariobangi is not so far from Central Kenya. And even Mount Kenya East, where you're talking about, the Central Kenya people are busy in Mbeere. Actually, the shortest route to the peak of Mount Kenya, the mountain now, is actually through Chuka, which is actually in Tarakaniti.
You see, I don't agree with my friend Arnold that Kariobangi by-election was well planned. It's because it's peaceful. It's because there are no stakes. If you look at by-election where there is violence, the stakes are so
very high.
Very high. And the goonism you see in those regions, it did not just erupt. They were organized. Everything was organized from yesterday. You look at Mbeere, look at Kasipul. We have 2 by-elections in Luo Nyanza. We have in Unguja. Why Kasipul?
So
we don't have any violence in Unguja. They were organized.
There was. Security officers
but there was violence in that we are talking about.
Complicitness of security officers or security authorities?
No, they are part of it. I don't think it's complicitness. It is actually incompetence.
How do you know?
It's a problem of competence, not complicity.
Yes. What I'm saying, what is it?
But then in Malava it could be different.
Wait first.
what I'm saying, if you look at Mbeere, the chaos that were in Mbeere, if you look at the chaos in Malava, if you look at the chaos in Kasipul, and these rumors of chaos, they started as early as yesterday, from the former deputy president saying how goons were organized to go to Mbeere. Malava, yesterday, as early as yesterday night, people were being stripped naked. Being tied in trees and being beaten, and there was no by-election that time. So, and there were rumors some people are in an office somewhere organizing with goons and everything, and some people are in the officials of the government. So that's why I'm telling you, even the police officers that were there, they must have a wind that they were going to face violence today. We have over 20 by-elections happening. The 4 of them have been meted with violence. That is in Mbeere, because of the former deputy president, because of the political might. Malava, Kasipul.
The violence in Mbeere is because of Rigathi.
Because of Rigathi. And the reason I'm saying is because of Rigathi.
Why not Muturi?
Why not Muturi?
No. You see, the war is not even with Muturi. The war is not even with Kindiki. The war is between 2 people here. It is former deputy president and the current president.
So then you should. Why are you saying this Rigathi and not Ruto?
I'm saying, you see the government, UDA candidate, you see even Rigathi Gachagua, the former deputy president, doesn't have a candidate from the DCP. He has a candidate of DP. But why are we not saying Muturi? Because hapo wanapimana nguvu.
So my point was, so that we can be fair, when you say it's because of Rigathi, we should say that's because of Rigathi and Ruto.
Yes. No, it's because of Rigathi and Ruto. Okay. Because even Rigathi Gachagua,
we are just trying to observe objectivity.
Rigathi Gachagua was saying, msitumie huyu Kindiki. Husi nini yangu, saizi yangu. Kwa nini huyo Ruto hakuji personally? Hapa wapi? Hapa Mbeere. Huyo ndio saizi yangu, tupimane na yeye. You see, it is like the political might. If former deputy president Gachagua wins Mbeere North, the idea that he has been fronting that amefukuza yeye ndiye aliletea Ruto hizi kura zote za mlima na sasa amemfukuza, it will be stamped. If you go to Marava, and maybe the UDA candidate and the DAPK candidate. If the UDA candidate wins, then Ruto will paint the picture that the entire country is behind me, except that region of Mbere North, that I did not get it. If you go to Kasipul, it's a matter of life and death for ODM. Because if ODM gets it wrong in Kasipul, then the issue of ODM as a party is done and dusted, and they will not have any bargaining power going forward to 2027 election. So that is the reason we are seeing we only have violence in those major places. We have so many by-elections going, even in Kisii. Maribo was showing me some images here in Kisii, that there is a lot of violence in Kisii. And it's because of a presidential candidate who is Matiang'i. So these are violence that is happening in all these by-elections. If you look at most of the by-elections, like over 10 of them, the elections are going on very smoothly because there are no stakes.
All right.
Those 4 of them, the stakes are so high, and whoever wins those by-election in those 4 regions, the tides of 2027 will change by tomorrow.
It's important to talk about that. I mean, it's just about an hour to the close of polling stations, so it's unlikely that much will change in terms of the voter turnout. Arnold, let's talk about then what either outcome. I mean, you're talking about 24 electoral areas, but let's talk about those that have been billed as the most consequential. Let's begin with Mbere North. What either outcome would mean, not just for the political players, but then for Kenya's political landscape moving forward. What is Mbere North looking like for you?
First of all, whoever wins is a Kenyan. That message must be drummed up continuously, that whoever wins, so long as the election is free, fair, and verifiable, he is a Kenyan, and he becomes the leader of that particular area and represents them.
Or she. That
is what we've seen, is that if a lot of women were vying, we wouldn't be having a lot of the fights we've seen here. Majority of the people we are seeing fighting are men, actually. We shouldn't also run away from that. A lot of these by-elections you see, it's men. Like who is the most popular female candidate that you've spoken about out of the 24 of them that any of you can name off head? In Baringo, you can't remember. In Malava, do you know any woman?
Well, most importantly, none has been associated with violence.
I'm saying that a notable candidate who has actually even captured the recognition of the nation. In Malava, in Kasipul, you've not heard about them. This by-election is about men, and they brought their bad manners here. So the masculine toxicity when it comes to politics is actually very manifest here. Men are truly being men here, which is not a very good thing in the way we run our politics. So your question is how then the outcome and how we move from here. I had to start from a point where whoever wins, first of all, he's actually a leader. You go to the National Assembly, you are a member of the National Assembly, MNA. You are not a UDA. The law only knows you, first of all, as a member of National Assembly, and that's where it stops. Member of County Assembly, that's where it stops. As a senator, the same. The senator in the Senate of Kenya. But then, a few things that actually stand out are this, is that, like I said, for the political actors, they took this seriously because it gives them a hint of what the other side is capable of doing. So they are looking at strategies, they are looking at trends. So if a number of people come out of this election, and that's why I said that we actually need to be so hard on IBC, because if we have a few people coming out of this election and saying we do not trust IBC and we cannot go to election with them, I love you people not to forget. Do not, by the way, sometimes even in my language they say, even omena ili advise tilapia ngege. So even Tanzania, that is relatively new, we can actually pick lessons from them. From the very beginning, when a section of political actors said they would not participate in the process because INEB, the Independent National Elections Body, INEC, wasn't independent and they would not go to elections without reformation, you saw exactly how it played out. So these strategies normally are cross-border. It's important that out of this particular process, IBC must actually come out as an arbiter that can be trusted. Before we talk about these acts, I know all of us really want to talk about then what this side does. It's important that IBC comes out of this particular process without blemish, looking competent, and giving us hope and promise on where we are going.
Hope, which you said is not a strategy.
I know they need, for us as masses, IBC needs to give us hope that we have a hope in these people. We can look up to 2027 and work with them. But then generally,
so
we have got
on that IBC. Yeah. Let me just read. They've actually just posted on social media, responding to speaking to two things. One, they put election update on security and peace. We urge all citizens and leaders to uphold peace throughout voting, counting, results announcement, and the post-election period. Violence and intimidation have no place in our democracy. We call on security agencies to act firmly where breaches occur. Let's protect the integrity of the vote. That's the first one. The second one they are addressing is ballot stuffing claims. Circulating allegations of ballot stuffing are misleading and inaccurate. Our ballot management procedures make such claims practically impossible. Voting is conducted in the full presence of agents, observers, and the media. Each ballot paper contains multiple security features that cannot be reproduced. We urge the public to rely on verified information from the Commission and reject falsehoods meant to undermine the electoral process. Let us uphold peace, trust the process, and strengthen our democracy. That is IBC, which was posted less than 10 minutes ago.
So the reason why I picked that is because if IBC does not inspire confidence as we move forward, we then will have the perception that why am I going to polls if I know this is the turnout? So we need to actually be very careful. It's important that IBC comes out of this particular process inspiring hope and giving us confidence. But then now let's move to what everybody really wants to talk about, is how do we move forward? I already was talking about how if you are a good political observer, you will realize that there is a deliberate card on the table that is intra-BBG to nyanzanize, I'm using that word deliberately, to limit and box ODM into being a Nyanza affair. And I've told you about what has happened in Turkana and what is happening in Kasipul. We had complaints that a section of intra-BBG, or rather a section of BBG guys were supporting the other side. So why then would anybody within BBG want another partner to lose? It can only be because they want to be in a better position to negotiate for 2027. We actually have also seen the CS for Labor.
Yes,
he was busy creating jobs. Anyway, he was busy also complaining about how his candidate, his Maendeleo Chap, and actually he said it on air, a party associated with me. You know, legally, he shouldn't actually be a party leader or having a political party association, but he said it. You can go back. In the morning, he is quoted saying that a few other people were fighting to ensure that a party associated with me does not, the candidate loses or whatever. So already you see.
But that was a clever use of words. That's what exactly said, because he's not the party leader. So legally, he's played safe.
Since this is a public intellectual space, we can actually speak to it without necessarily running afoul of any law, or even if there's morality to it. But this is the issue. It actually flies right through what we were trying to speak about. Do we really need a professional cabinet and people in that level? Should they be meddling down here? So CS Mutua is actually in Ukambani to fight for his political party, not to fight for Kenya. In Western, Musalia Mudavadi, who is quote unquote deputy party leader at UDA, as much as he doesn't say it, but then he is down there fighting for his candidate to win. So you realize that in the recent data that you guys published, you will see, or rather the polls recently, is that Western has moved away from being an ODM, or rather quote unquote an Azimio voting bloc. It's been moved to a battleground. They then moved, I think, cost partly to that particular end, where this by-election is actually going in. And I saw you guys trying to push the idea that you cannot bribe everybody. Do you know how much money these guys have? Why are you pretending like you've not been, and you guys have been covering news for a very long time? You have seen things that you do not want to say on air, but you will have your own time.
No.
I to that.
I was asking Baju so that he was saying 7 million people were bribed.
Look at, not 7 million necessarily, because we normally vote along tribes, and that's where this direction is actually going. It's a conversation that is very uncomfortable, but originally we have been voting along the tribe line.
Yes.
This tribe could actually not sometimes be ethnic. Anyway, for the first time, we have got non-ethnic tribes showing up, like The biggest voting bloc is the Mount Kenya. You can't run away from that. Unfortunately, it's data, it's proven. Number two, the second biggest voting bloc, which we will also call it a tribe, because Mount Kenya is not one tribe. Mount Kenya is not a tribe. But if you were to look at the Merus are a breakaway of the Pokomo. Look at them, even their old words and everything else. So Mount Kenya is not a tribe. It's a nation, but we can call it a tribe for purposes of, as in it's not one tribe, but the amalgamation, so you can call it that way. The second largest voting bloc is actually the working class. For the first time, and we thank God for this administration, is that the working class and the middle class have been touched. Initially, they were feigning voter apathy and feeling, speaking through the nose during the day of election, telling guys, huku mnapigia nani? Now, they have actually gone in for their pay slip, and all of a sudden, the working class are very good political advocates. They are busy doing political advocacy out there, much more than they have ever done before. Thank God that if you go for a man's lunch, he comes for your jugular. The third biggest voting bloc, and I'm talking about a poll done by the people in government, not the people in opposition. The third one is actually young lawyers. The funny thing is that as much as it's ethnic, but then they have to qualify young. That is the first time, again, we are seeing people voting away, not necessarily 100% ethnic. The fourth one is actually young Luos, and number 5 is actually the Gen Zs. Not so much, a critical mass of about 2 million. We have never had that particular way of framing and looking at voting blocks. This is the first time we are having it that way. Whether they remain concrete or not, whether they will become fluid, that is later on. So, and you can actually see there is a deliberate attempt, specifically by the administration, to re-ethnicize the country. Everybody, like Majus is being reminded, he comes from somewhere along, if I'm right, it should be along Kamiti Road.
Nakuru.
They have to remind Majus that he comes from somewhere and he has got a legend somewhere. The people from Western are also being reminded from where they are coming from. Everybody, they are trying to actually come up with ethnic cocoons so that then during the elections, we just have got an ethnic census because they are afraid of those 2 voting blocks. The youthful, the voting bloc, and the Gen Zs, or rather, the youth and the working class.
And I think it's an interesting conversation to have in the wake of voter apathy, because, I mean, when we say voter apathy is a feature of by-elections, but we're also saying that this by-election is, a midterm, a mock exam for the 2027 exam. How sure are we that the Gen Z and the young voting bloc, as presented during the 2024 demonstrations, are going to present themselves as a voting bloc? That's one. But right before we get there, Majus, as we talk about what's happening after this election, as we head to the close of polls, Kenya has a long pattern of by-elections, or every other election really ending up in court. If margins are tight in Malava, Kasipul, and the rest of the close-to-watch races, are we likely to see post-election petitions from today's elections?
Number one, it's very rare to have them tied. And I can give you an example in what happened in Kiambaa. UDA versus Jubilee, the difference was around 300 votes, only 300 votes. That's how the UDA started their party and campaign in Mount Kenya region. And from that time, Jubilee somehow was buried towards 2022 election. You asked my friend Mariba a very deliberate question, and he dodged it because he's a party leader. He doesn't want to face it. That what happens in Mbere if it goes either way. You see, in Mbere, the by-election was created deliberately by the president. In most of other regions, by-elections just happened through natural means, death, and so on and so forth. But in Mbere, it was just created by the president to test his powers in Mount Kenya region. And he took Mount Kenya East, to be specific, because there was that narrative of Mount Kenya East versus Mount Kenya West. And Kithure Kindiki, the current deputy president, comes from Mount Kenya East. The former deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua, came from Mount Kenya West. So Ruto was seeing a scenario whereby if Mount Kenya will not vote him as a bloc, then he can be able to divide Mount Kenya into two major divisions. That is Mount Kenya East and Mount Kenya West. If Gachagua was going to tell the people of Mount Kenya West not to vote Ruto, then he was sure that Kindiki can have some influence to tell Mount Kenya East people to vote him. And he took Mbere North. You know, Mbere North, most part of Mbere North are semi-arid areas, meaning it is a place whereby people are facing hardship already. So you can be able to manipulate them with some money, with some shopping for Christmas and so on and so forth. That's why there's so much voter bribery in Mbeere North. Because Ruto knows if he can be able to capture Mbeere North, I'm telling you, these are people shouting 1 term and 2 term. That loud will just go down. The voice will go down of just 1 term. Because he will create a perception in the entire country. In fact, Ruto does not care that that if he wins Mbeere North, the rest of the Mount Kenya bloc will vote him. He's just interested in creating perception to other communities.
So you're saying that Ruto kind of set up Kindiki?
No, he didn't set Kindiki.
Voter bribery is not
what people are saying that he said Kindiki. I don't agree with that. Ruto was deliberate creating Mbeere so that if he can be able to win Mbeere North, he can be able to create a perception to the rest of the country that, you see, Mount Kenya community is still with me. And being still with me, it's up to you people to choose if you want to be in the government or not. By the way, going forward, Kindiki, being set or not, he will not be the running mate for President William Samoei. That is a fact. He will not be the running mate for President William Samoei Ruto going 2027. That is a fact. So, if Ruto does not make it to Mbeere, and he makes it to Marava, that's why it's also a do or die for him in Marava. He will tell people of the country that, you see, I told you, no one has problem with me, especially one region called Mount Kenya. Look at Western. Western is with me. They are backing me. But again, Ruto does not want, according to my own analysis, Ruto does not want an ODM MP to win Kasipul. Because you see, they have pressure on him that, you see, you have to take one of us to be your running mate. We are the one who are maybe supporting you. And the people of ODM in Kasipul, they want Ruto to lose in Mbeere so that they can tell President Ruto, you see, people of Mount Kenya are not with you. So the people you should take as the running mate, ni sisi watu wa ODM. But again, Ruto, he does not want ODM to win there because he does not want pressure from them. Because they will give him pressure. You see, we have delivered the ODM seat in Kasipul. We are a force. You have to take one of us as a running mate. Ruto knows very well. When Baba was vying in 2022, over 700,000 people, they did not come out to vote. That is data. So Ruto knows very well that if he will be on the ballot, the motivation to tell those people to come out to vote now for him will be very low. So Ruto he wants a situation whereby he will be able to pick ODM as just other people who are just negotiating for ministers, but not as for the running mate. Still for the running mate, he has just put it open that he can have it in Western. If the results today of Malava come out that UDA has won, Ruto will be looking so closely to take a running mate from Western Kenya.
Okay, let me just before just a bit.
Yes.
And this everyone can really chime into it. Yes. We've said how we vote in either tribes or in regions, etc. Yes. One, must we? That's one. And why I even ask this is because it seems like, and again, like you're saying, we are the ones who are like our leaders. I'll still insist. I feel the political class is the one which is trying to push us back to that tribal way of thinking. Because, guys, in 2024, June, when Gen Zs led Kenyans to the streets, they didn't care whether you're Luo and you're injured. You are injured or you've been arrested, we help you. There was nothing. Actually, politicians withdrew because I feel, is it that, you know, they felt that it's a foreign space where you're not leading with the regional aspect. We even had interviews with some guys which were booked from before, but because they were coming to push either Mountain or Mulembe Nation or whatever, they knew that was not the space for them. So the country was very heavy on issues. But then, that's such a foreign space for the political actors that now we start being pushed back into it and making it even look cool, cousins or otherwise. Are we, I mean, at that point, Kenyans felt like there was a solidarity on the issues that matter to Kenyans most. Are the politicians taking us back?
Yes.
Do you think they're taking us back?
They are not. I told you, they're not. I mean, again, we have seen people who used to argue very well here. They came here and you had very good debates. And you thought these people going to parliament, they are going to change how things are done. We are blaming our parents and saying most of them have not even gone to school. They don't have qualification. But if you look at the people who are taking us back to that level we are talking about, most of them are advocates. They are lawyers. They are learned. Are you together? In Kenya, we are going to a scenario whereby like it's survival for the fittest. If you can be able to survive.
But you see, Kenyans at that point was speaking to the issues. You know, it was for example, it was centered on the finance bill, and it was about, if it's about sanitary towels, it was not about tribe.
If you look at that moment,
it was not about we from Turkana.
If you look at that moment, before we came to 2024, we had over somehow 6 to 7 months of a political scenario whereby no one was talking the issues that Kenyans wanted them to be talked. Raila had gone silent. He was not speaking. The opposition had gone silent. Nobody was speaking. Are you together? So Kenyans came out to speak on their own on the issues they felt that they were not being addressed. But after that, former Deputy President Gachagua was impeached. So when he was impeached, he came out to replace the people who are talking about the issues. Now he's the one who's talking about all the issues that we're having in the country. So myself, as a millennial, as a Gen Z, I don't have to go on the streets. No, I'm a millennial. I'm saying with Gen Z also. Okay. I can be bordering. I can be bordering. I'm also a politician. I can also be appealing to Gen Z because I'll be fine. So I'm saying, when the former Deputy President Gachagua came, he filled that gap. Now he's speaking on behalf of Kenyans. People are like, Gachagua amesema nini? Has he addressed that issue? But let me tell you, if today, Rigathi Gachagua goes silent for 5 months, you are going to see another revolution for Kenyans who feel like they have to talk things that are not being talked.
But some of the same Kenyans are criticizing him for being among the people taking us back into tribals.
No, they were criticizing Raila before. The reason Raila went silent is because when he was going to this, because Kenyans are like that. He goes to the street, they are like, you are destroying our business. When he went silent, why are you keeping silent? Kenyans want somebody just to keep talking so that they can talk also about him.
Maliba, also, there's an issue I really just wanted to put out here. When Chegeren spoke about Mbere, he said, of course, Mbere is a hardship area, so you can actually try to confuse people quickly with a few things here and there. I'm trying to compress it. But I need to actually emphasize this, that the issue of voter bribery and looking for voter treatment is not limited to the poor masses only. It's a culture we have embraced as a people. A friend of mine who is actually a medical doctor once told me during the last election that she was coming home, she was driving home, and then she saw a group of women in the neighborhood running around. Then she opened the window and asked them, where are you guys going? Say, there's Mheshimiwa here who actually wants to see all women. And what are they doing? They are giving money. So she drove to the house, akajifunga leso, na kofia, na akaenda. And then I asked her how much.
Lab coat na stethoscope.
No, akajifunga leso, looked like an ordinary mama. Then na kitamba, then she went. So I asked her, how much did you get? Then she said, I don't talk about the politician that was giving. He's a governor within one of these Nairobi metropolitan area.
You're coming too close. Just
yeah, dangerously close. She told me that she went there and they got 1,000. I said, but really, will you as a medical doctor go in for 1,000? She said, no, this money is just good for taking. And she then further told me that she had told her house help that in case this thing repeats itself, ensure that you show up and collect that money. So you see, it's a culture that is embedded in us, and I have run for office severally. I will tell you that some of the people that ask us for bribes are not even the poor only. Properly educated people speaking English of the nose, they show up. There's a reason why Waheshimiwa sometimes despise the professionals. Because there is normally no difference between the professionals and the... Because
so you're saying there's no honor among thieves?
Because the people down there sometimes, when you give them money, they appreciate and they vote you back. So it shouldn't be said that the issue of bribery is because people are necessarily helpless. It's a culture that cuts across. It cuts across. But then, quickly, he spoke about the president having created the Mbere North by-election deliberately. That is a lie. You know why that is a lie? A lot of the decisions the president and his team took, especially following the Gen Z revolution or the demonstrations, they did not think beyond the action of that hour. Let no one lie to you that impeaching Rigathi Gachagua was thought through end to end. No, it was an emotional destination. And you know this government is largely run by boys. This is a government by the boys, for the boys, and of the boys. Everything else is just about that. It's the boys thinking. I don't want to go into the details. It's the boys thinking and how they have run this country. There are a lot of decisions that are made completely. And when I use the word boyish, I'm using it from the Mathare where I grew up. Ile utoto. There is a lot of utoto in how decisions are made. When they did away with the current AG, or rather the former AG, the former AG's bond of contention with this administration was very basic, that his son was abducted. And that he went in and appealed. He was told, because he's connected, once you're within government spaces, you will know when things are happening. So he called the people who were said to actually be holding his son. They denied, but he went to the president and told the president that my son had been abducted. But had his son not been abducted, probably there would not be this by-election here. He would not have been jettisoned from government. Once they did away with him, they tried to think about it. How then do we treat this? Because they thought with regard the outside, so what then do we do? To spite him and make him look small, they decided to go for a member of his own party to replace him, or rather within the big framework. So, Majuis, from where you come from, I will tell you that at the time when those decisions were being made, at least I was on the other side of the mountain. I'm talking about the mountain of decision making.
You were in UDA.
All right.
Yes.
It's just about 40 hours.
There's no honor.
Just a moment. I need to finish this. And I want to tell you that you are giving them too much credit to think that they thought through. They didn't create this thing. It was just for that particular moment. They wanted to spite Muturi. And after that, I can tell you that this administration actually regrets having impeached Rigathi. They totally regret. They actually regret having impeached Muturi because the consequences that have come out of it, they have been unable to handle it. So do not give them too much credit thinking that they thought through. So the lie that they created this because they wanted to test is neither here nor there. At the moment of decision making, that was not the thinking. You are giving them too much credit.
All right,
let's head to Kasipul now. Just we take a look at the closing of polling stations in about 40 minutes from now. Our senior reporter and anchor Ben Kitili has been covering the situation there where violence has been witnessed for the better part of the day, including the assault of Homa Bay Town MP Peter Kaluma. Now as the closings, as polls close, Ben Kitili spoke to agents and candidates from the Kasipul constituency by-election. Let's listen in to what they had to say.
I also noticed that not a lot of young people specifically are coming out to cast their votes, just by my own personal observation. What's your take on that?
Yeah, well, if you look at majority of the Gen Zs, those we are calling ourselves Gen Zs, majority of them didn't get their voters didn't register as voters before the past general election. And you know that process had been on hold till this year. Was it September? So you think, many of them still don't have that. They are large in numbers, yes, but they are not yet registered. So I think that has also led to us seeing maybe the few that registered before those who took part in the past election. And we are hoping that maybe in the coming days we'll rally our youths to really take out the votes.
What is your take on the security situation in Kasipul for the last 2 days?
For the last 2 days, I can say it has been good because we've seen even the CS himself was here. And he really promised us that, we will be well taken care of by the security. And I can see that wherever we are walking, because I've made quite around almost all the polling stations in Kasipul, I haven't seen any up and downs. Yeah, I've just seen the security and they've told us, we are trying to hold the fort, everything is good. So we really thank them for the security they've provided.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for talking to us. That is Jasmine Linda Auko, one of the candidates here in the Kasipul parliamentary by-election, and we are keeping an eye on what is happening in other polling stations to give you the updates, the security updates. A couple of hours ago, there was an altercation between the Homa Bay Town Member of Parliament, George Opondo Kaluma, and some members who he referred to as associates of independent candidate Philip Aroko, and he was injured in that altercation. He also claimed that his bodyguard lost his firearm. We know that the police have told us that they have made several arrests. We know that 5 vehicles, Probox vehicles, have been arrested. We did see a couple of some drama when some young men were seen riding in a fleet of vehicles, Probox vehicles and motorbikes, leading to some kind of a chase around town with the police. 5 of those cars have been incarcerated. Remember yesterday the CS for Interior Kipchumba Murkomen saying they will be on high alert for those kind of vehicles, and they will not only arrest those riding and causing mayhem, but also the transporters. We are waiting for more updates on that. We also understand that a couple of vans have been apprehended by the police in the late Ongondo, whereas Homestead, not very far from here. We are also seeking to just try and go and find out more about that. The police have been very quick to react to any situation here. We saw during that altercation with the Homa Bay Town MP, the police were here in droves in less than 5 minutes. A bit of an assurance to the people here in Kasipul as they go about their voting process, which will be ending in about around 2 hours or so, that they are safe and there is peace and tranquility. We'll continue to keep an eye on things here as the voting process here in Kasipul draws to a close, giving way for the vote counting and the tallying and tabulation of results.
Thank you so much. I've just casted my vote. The process is very, very efficient and I love it. It has not taken time. The machines are actually working, so I'm happy. The place is peaceful, unlike what I had happened earlier, where there was some violence here and there caused by some goons. And I've also had maybe some incidences where they have actually attacked some people, which is actually uncalled for. As a constituency, we are a peaceful constituency, and we always wish to have a free, fair, and a peaceful process for the people of Kasipul constituency.
What is your message to the government, which yesterday promised that no goons will be allowed, but we were here and we saw the Homa Bay Town MP get attacked? What's your message to the state?
My message to the state: let us deal with the incidences of insecurity, regardless of somebody's status. And I would actually urge the government to be firm and fair when dealing with cases of violence, because this country should not actually operate on goonism or violence, because as we do that, we will be interfering with the livelihood of a number of people. Some people may get injured, and this will even be costly to the individuals as well as the state. If you look at the symbolic nomination, it really surprised us, because it was the outsiders who came and voted in this constituency, which is not acceptable. And I would want to say that I've been a member of parliament, and I'm actually the predecessor of the late, and I did even some by-elections within this constituency in wards and the rest, and they were all peaceful, and I would not actually behave the way we saw during our nomination process.
All right, there are live details from earlier today in Kasipul constituency in Homa Bay County. Ben Kitili there speaking to the candidates and the agents there as we head to the close of polling stations.
Now, low voter turnout defined the Ugunja constituency by-election, with voters trickling into polling stations in sparse numbers as candidates and leaders moved to assure residents of peace.
ODM's Moses Okoth Omondi and Federal Party of Kenya's Dr. Maurice Juma Okumu, both expressing confidence after casting their votes, commended the IEBC for smooth management of the process.
Now, Energy CS Opio Wandai, voting at Luanda Primary School, urged residents to remain calm and condemned incidents of violence reported in other by-election areas.
And I want to appeal for calm, not only in Kasipul, but everywhere else. And let leaders lead by example. Leaders of all political persuasions lead by example. Elections cannot be a matter of life and death. Elections cannot be an end in themselves. Elections are simply but a means to an end. And an end here is good governance, service delivery to the people. And there can only be one winner in any election. Like here in Ogunja. Here ODM will win, I'm certain, okay? But even those who will lose will have a chance next time to run or to contest, okay? I don't know how the outcome in other constituencies, but at least here I know, because I'm voting here, okay? So we cannot make elections become a matter of life and death. Let us allow democracy to take its course, okay? Let us allow people to exercise right without being put under unnecessary pressure. Let us not intimidate voters. Let us allow voters to vote freely in the manner it's happening here, okay? And ultimately, let the votes be counted and the winner be proclaimed.
That's Opio Wandai, the CS Energy and Petroleum, and whose appointment to that position is the reason why there is that by-election where he was speaking at and where he cast his vote, because he had to resign as the MP of Ugunja so that he could join the broad-based government as an expert, according to what is public knowledge. And just on a separate note, in regard to a news update that's of great importance, we have a post by the Speaker of the Senate, Amason Kingi, and he says that the Senate has today formally received communication from the County Assembly of Nyamira on the proposed removal of office by impeachment of Amos Kimwomi Nyaribo, Governor of Nyamira County. Senators have this afternoon resolved the charges against the governor, namely gross violation of the Constitution and other laws and abuse of office, will be investigated by the plenary starting Wednesday, December 3rd, 2025. So next week is going to be a week of reckoning for Nyamira Governor, that is Amos Nyaribo, and so we are going to be monitoring that. So that's just the latest that's happening, that has been released on the same, that there shall be a plenary starting, that investigation by the plenary starting Wednesday, December 3rd, 2025, and that is next week. Specifically, let me check, the 3rd is on Wednesday. So Wednesday next week, Governor Nyaribo's matter will be before the plenary of the Senate.
All right, and we continue monitoring what is happening in the by-election areas in the country. Just a few minutes ago, about half a minute ago, we had reports of DCI officers leaving Oyugis police station for a security mission in Kasipul. So just short